Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Raised by Spoilers. Are we good? We live?
We're live.
We're live. Beautiful. Welcome back to Raised by Spoilers. Tonight we're doing a little special treat as the Dungeons and Dragons movie premieres relatively soon, and we figured we'd cash in because we're very cheap like that. So I brought to the table our second or third animated series, but one near and dear to my heart, the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon from 1983. Tonight we watched one episode of the cult classic treat, The Dragon's Graveyard. Episode 20, I want to say the last episode of season 2.
How many seasons in total?
There was 3 seasons, and unfortunately, the last season was cut short and only had 6 episodes, and the kids never got home.
Oh, they never got to finish
They wrapped it up. They wanted to reboot it for a 90s era.
Yeah.
And the kids just never went home. It was later on done as an audio play with the original script.
Oh, interesting.
It's available on YouTube if anyone is so deep and involved with Dungeons and Dragons, the animated series lore, that they want to go back and actually wrap that story up. Joining me tonight, you know, the round table of goons. We've got the deadliest demon himself, feminist warlord, everybody's goth mommy. I'm one of your hosts, Geek Movie House. I want to go around the table quick because, Adam, you have never really seen the animated series before.
Clips, people referencing
GIFs
it.
And stuff, right?
Yeah, that's about it. That episode, now I sometimes you can have a banger.
Yeah.
In a sea of shit.
Sure.
So I don't know whether you curated like the best one.
Yeah, this was arguably the best one. Okay. And then they're not bad, but just like comic books or any written adventure by TSR in that era, there's gold in those hills. It might not necessarily be full of gold, but you're going to find some episodes, the Warduke episode, the Skeleton's Quest. There's a few of them where you go through the DVD or even YouTube, they're all available.
The Unicorn episode.
The Unicorn episode is fucking phenomenal with Kellic. There is hit or miss. Yeah. The whole series you don't need to watch, but obviously Google the 10 best episodes of the Dungeons and Dragons 80s cartoon, and it's really fucking surprisingly good, man. The art style is
the art style's meh.
It's almost Hanna-Barbera.
I am strongly reminded of Super Friends.
Okay, yeah. I want to say roughly the same kind of studio house that was working on it.
Yeah, so I always, from watching it and watching the clips that I got, I always assumed, oh, it's like the Super Friends. And I've watched that when I was a kid, so I know they're going to have a moral of the story. They're going to not show really anything crazy. And half of it's not going to make sense. It's going to be Deus Ex Solution the whole time. Sure. I did not expect the like Darth Vader-esque twists going on there.
Spoilers.
Welcome to Raised by Spoilers. 20. We're episode 20. I would go back and not necessarily, you don't need to, but this is the best episode where stuff finally starts to get resolved. So to spoil the show, the kids get sucked in. They take...
No, finish your thoughts.
No, please. Go ahead.
No, it was just, I don't know, the intro, you know, the kids get sucked in via a ride, blah, blah. And I just went, wow, that's okay. I know what I'm getting into. And they started with some questionable action with the giant, and they didn't really conclude fighting the giant. He just sort of, someone did something to him, and then he was off screen. Like, I didn't feel like they won the fight.
It's a combat, and we keep moving with the story.
And I was like, wow, that's pretty impressive. Like, they started directly into the action. That's rare. And then they're like, okay, here's the portal. Like, they're starting the episode off with, here's the portal to the end of the world. I'm like, okay, listen, I know they're not going to make it out. You don't start your episode with this.
No.
And it shuts down, blah, blah. And then they're like, and eventually the main villain's like, wow, screw it. At this point in the episode, he's like, I'm going to go and just deal with it myself. I'm like, oh man, we're getting serious. Like, if Skeletor is coming down from the mountaintop and going, I will fight you myself. Right. I'm like, okay, like, I know I'm getting near the end.
So Peter Cullen, Montreal native, Optimus Prime himself, plays Venger.
Okay.
I want to say there is another handful of voice actors that appear in this show, but for the most part, I love it. Amanda, Dungeons & Dragons the animated series.
It's always a hoot.
It's always a hoot. It's always
a hoot.
You laughed.
I got you this DVD for your birthday, I want to say like 5-6 years ago. And you're like, we're never going to watch this. Like, why did you get me this? And then lo and behold.
Well, they're all available on YouTube.
Within a few months, it's like we started watching them like one episode at a time, 2 episodes at a time. So I hadn't actually gotten to this episode. We stopped maybe episode like 13.
Yeah.
It's been we've had it for over 5 years and we're still working our way through it, dragging that out. Ha. But, I don't know. It's terrible, but in the best way. Like,
yeah, the episode title names are just fun as hell, and you can
Are
definitely...
these all the
That's
episodes?
all. That's
That's
the
the
entire
whole
series.
So there's only
thing.
27 episodes.
That's the entire
I had
series.
to get that off of like a shady like Amazon or eBay listing that I
The
probably
Girl
paid.
Who Dreamed Tomorrow.
Yeah. 3.5, there is an original version of that box set with all of the characters and villains statted up for 3.5.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it exists in the same sort of remaster or anniversary edition. I think in Dragon Magazine, they also published all of that. But
Yeah, they have some pretty cool
Yeah.
titles. Citadel of Shadow.
Citadel of Shadows, The Valley of the Unicorns.
These sound like
Yeah.
module names.
Yeah, that's the whole point, right?
Like I could have sworn I've run Valley of Bones before.
Yeah.
But I like this episode because, like you said, it does start in the middle of a fight. You already know, because if you had watched it to this point, you have not. So how Hank was like, stop with the riddles.
Enough's
Every
enough.
episode that Dungeon Master shows up in, he does this thing where he gives them like the answer, but in riddles, and then disappears.
And they find the
And
answer.
then they have
right.
to
The
find
moral
it.
of his story,
Yeah.
the moral of his riddle.
The more you know,
So
kind of thing.
After
Don't do
they
drugs.
did the frost giant fight, he's like, "Oh, they said that the fire and the ice would lead the way," and they're like, "What the hell?" And then it happened, right? So
Yeah.
it's like they didn't need to make a 2-parter. They could have did a 2-parter.
Yeah.
There is a few 2-parters in here,
Okay.
but the fact that they're like, "Hey, get this done," they almost get home and then just get to the plot.
Right.
It was
Because you got to
really well
imagine,
done.
right? They didn't know they were going to get a season 3, and then season 3 completely
They didn't know they
collapsed
were
in on
getting
itself.
canceled.
So that was like, last episode of season 2.
Yeah.
They might get home.
Yeah.
Like we're
It's almost like an
actually
episode
gonna
and a
do it.
half.
I don't know. It was surprising. It was like clearly this was an impactful episode.
Yeah.
Because I kind of got the feeling like not much happened prior to this. Like it was episode of the week where they learned characters, they learned who they were, they
Yeah.
probably overcame a personal
Mm-hmm.
character flaw.
They're figuring out everybody's class. As
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
right? The wizard becomes better.
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
in the first 5 episodes,
He messes
he
up
can't do
every
anything,
time.
and they all just shit on him.
No.
And then
And
it's not
Eric.
good. And Eric
Is like the Carlos of like the Magic School Bus. Like he's kind of the dopey guy that kind of he makes the jokes, and they're always like, "Eric, why are you saying that?" And it's like, "Oh my God, Sheila, relax."
which is odd because like I think in the audio play, I think Eric's the one who wants to stay. He's
That
the
makes
one who's
sense.
bitching about I want to get the fuck out of here. And by the end of it, he's like
Oh, Eric's the Cavalier.
Cavalier.
Yeah. So we
Yeah.
got Hank, the Ranger.
Yeah.
Bobby is his younger brother, the Barbarian.
Oh.
Nine.
With Uni, the unicorn, which they get in the first 1 or 2 episodes
First
with the
episode.
unicorn plot. Then you got Diana, the acrobat.
Yeah.
Sheila, the thief.
Yeah.
And Presto, the wizard.
Okay. That's who they are.
Am I missing anybody? And then Eric, the cavalier.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did Eric, yeah.
So I was
Sheila,
just.
the thief?
Sheila's the thief,
that's
yeah.
I was
okay.
just really impressed because it started off very kind of, I would say cliche, because I knew it was going to be a different episode because they started with, there's your door to home, and I knew it wasn't going to happen. But
That
I'm like,
happens a few times, I want to say.
does it?
Yeah.
It kind of reminded me of a Samurai Jack. Like,
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
I got a lot of Samurai Jack in that first section
Yeah.
vibes.
Yeah.
And then they moved on and they did the dungeon. I have a few questions. I'm sure maybe the answer in season 3
Probably.
of like Tiamat's role. Why would Tiamat agree to this? But that's fair. I haven't watched all the episodes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I totally understand. I don't know her role in all of it. But when it was like, okay, this is interesting. They're going to fight him. I'm like, okay, he's not actually going to kill the guy. And then as soon as Dungeon Master came in and they're like, my son. And I just,
gasped.
You gasped.
What?
You guys gasped.
I did not know that
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
the thing. And then he disappeared. He let him go.
that was such a Darth Vader, like, no, I am your father moment. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, you're trapped here.
And then he just leaves and like they don't really address it. I'm like,
No.
what's good? Like, these are important questions. Like
Right.
maybe, at first I heard it and then I thought for a moment, maybe that's just how Dungeon Master, like, does he call all of them
No.
my sons or
No.
something? Or my daughter?
No.
No.
That's the first time he like.
Okay.
That's the first time you actually start piecing together what's actually fucking going on. But yeah. So Dungeon Master is trapped there. Gary Gygax's oldest son worked on this show. He wanted to pursue animation. Gary, in the 80s at this point, the height of TSR, was in LA shopping around
LA.
D&D, LA, California, to shop around D&D as a movie. They wanted Spielberg to make a film. And at this point, this TV show or cartoon was coming out, and Gary Gygax had the castle built, and it rivaled the Playboy Mansion at one point because of the height of TSR. They still, to this day, can't figure out why they were losing money. Mastering Dungeons is a wonderful book that I would encourage anyone who wants, or Mastering Dungeons and Imagination Emporium is one where it dives kind of in the history of TSR and who Gary Gygax was as a family man, or lack thereof of a family man.
Yeah.
Because he loved the game too much.
That
And
family's clearly busted.
a little broken, a couple wives, and it's an interesting story about a man in a game and the hobby and the genre that has grown into for what it is.
Yeah.
But I thought we'd unpack it. I thought we'd go through a quick little episode. We're going to move on to the D&D film from 2000.
I have one more.
You got another one. Keep going.
Sorry.
Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate?
No, just to go back. You had said something earlier. Sorry.
No, whatever.
The fact that this episode is so different than all the others is all the characters up to this point, and all the kids have been relatively good, like lawful good,
Yeah.
good, neutral, right? This is the first time, especially Hank. He's like the leader. I think he might be the old. No, he might be one of the older kids. So
Got it.
He's kind of become the leader. This is the first time you actually see him crack, where he's like going against the dungeon master, being like, "No, we're basically, in a few words, going to kill Venger, whatever it takes." And all the other parties like, "Wait, what are we doing? Like, are you sure?" And that's what made like the final showdown so intense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the fact that Dungeon Master was so disappointed in his decision and told him everything he wanted to know, except for how to get there properly without a riddle. But at the end, I think he's like, "Hey, now that you spared Venger, you're not evil. You didn't go down the evil path like Star Wars. It's like, okay, now I can actually help you get home."
Yeah,
You passed the test, and I'm assuming Venger didn't all those years, and that's why he didn't let him
I think
go.
the kids are there to try to get the kids are there to try to get Venger home.
Okay,
Yeah.
I just assumed it was.
He's not a foil. He's you have to grow. Like, you have to let go of this hate.
Oh, see, and I just assumed that whatever's going on, Dungeon Master's like, "No, you're not ready to go home." And this guy just keeps going further and further down the
he
rabbit hole,
keeps
further
pushing.
away from
Yeah.
getting home.
Right. And the kids
where
are
the kids are like, he's looking at going, "I failed with the previous apprentice."
Yeah,
You know,
who knows
now
how
I have a new
long
attempt.
Venger's
these are-
been there.
These are qualities that my son at one point had, and I hope these kids can bring this back.
Yeah, I didn't take it as they were hoping he would save him. I took it as he was just hoping that the kids wouldn't go down the same path.
Yeah,
Ready.
if they would have killed Venger, Dungeon Master probably would have abandoned them.
Yeah.
Oh, he would have. Yeah, they're the villains.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the show flips. Also, this is for 10-year-olds. This was on CBS
pretty
on
heavy
Saturday
for
mornings,
10-year-olds.
and we are. That's what. This is what I mean. We're
It's
like
deeper than it
this
had any
is-
right to be.
Deeper than it is. This
Yeah.
came after He-Man, and this was the thing that was trying to rival He-Man at the time, or GI Joe, and a bit of Transformers.
Watching this
But we're
felt like,
also
an adventure. It felt
Holy shit! It's heavy.
it felt like one of the adventures I have run before.
Yeah.
One of the more simpler level, like not as complex, but fine. That's good for a 20-minute show.
Watching all of this is where I've cherry picked a lot of my ideas for my own homebrew game.
Sounds like so did Critical Role.
There's so much there. Well, I mean,
Kellic was the villain in our first campaign.
yeah, and Warduke shows up in it, and Warduke. NECA has just done a very, very cool action figure of Warduke, and you can find all of the characters, whether they are in Stormwreck Isle or the Feywild Circus campaign that has come out with Warduke and the action figures. The action figures are now turned into minis for a modern era 5th edition for the show and the cartoons and everything, which is fantastic.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But Warduke itself showed up in my other one, who is the Boba Fett of the Dungeons and Dragons
He's the
universe. kind of
coolest
thing.
guy.
He shows up in one episode, he kicks everybody's ass, and then he just
And then
disappears.
he
It's
disappears
He's
to
like,
a Sarlacc pit.
no, man, Venger pays him, and he's like, cool, my job's done, and then he just fucks off.
And then he never gets mentioned again. And it's like, who was that?
Straight out.
Bring him back, because he's based off of the Frank Frazetta Warduke, right? Or
Death
the Death Dealer.
Yeah.
He's the Death Dealer
That's
from
cool.
Frazetta, like with the horns. And it's like, this show has no reason to be like as good.
Well, it's TSR era where they were just fucking taking from everything, whether it was the Fiend
But that doesn't
Folio or
necessarily-
Deity and Demigods.
That doesn't necessarily always work out to being something positive, but it clearly inspired a bunch of
Oh
shit.
my God.
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
Do you think now, 40 years after this, we're finally going to get a Dungeons and Dragons ride?
Yes, I think with the idea of the movie, and depending if
movie.
the
Oh
movie does
my
really
gosh.
well, I could see Universal Pictures.
They're going to need a second movie for them to make a ride.
What I could see is a
Apparently,
second
they want to
movie.
do like 7 of them.
Yeah,
They want to franchise it.
That sounds about right.
because realistically, if you look at it, right, we're gonna just play a little inside baseball here. Universal Studios, L.A. and Florida,
Yeah.
still is licensing the fucking Marvel Comics world.
Yep.
But it's 90s X-Men and 90s Spider-Man and 90s Doctor Doom. We're looking at that Wolverine shirt, real sick.
Yeah.
So they're itching to say, hey, what does a D&D world look like? They already have Harry Potter. It fits because you can't technically do Game of Thrones. It's a little too
You
graphic.
wouldn't want
and-
to be
too
in
gray.
Game of
you know what I mean?
Thrones.
But like something lighthearted, and even for some of the pre-early reviews and the Rotten Tomato scores,
You're
for
thinking
this
like the
D&D
Super
movie.
Mario world, but D&D?
Yeah,
I mean, it would be interesting. There'd be lots of like archery stuff. It would be more like a Ren Fair type.
it's a Ren Fair type
like
thing.
Axe throwing,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
archery.
The dragon rides
the
and everything like that.
tightrope.
You have
thing,
your little
know.
wrist thing that activates
Yeah.
magic on the wall and then
Yeah.
opens up secret
Yeah.
doors and
Yeah.
I think they
cast
could do
spells.
it.
Because
yeah, you could totally do
the
it.
Harry Potter world is already successful. Nintendo is stepping foot into Universal Studios, and they continue to be successful with Harry Potter or Mario World. I just think when you look at the map of Universal Studios as a franchise, or even like Paramount area kind of thing, they've got the Atlantis Hercules area, which is just non-copyright generic fantasy. They have the 90s X-Men and Spider-Man that they keep paying Disney to use the rights
Yeah,
to,
yeah.
which
They
is
need a
not what they
refresh.
want to do. Legoland won't step in there because they've got their own theme parks, and
Oh, yeah.
Harry Potter is a powerhouse. So it makes sense
But
for
we're
them
getting
to...
out of the Marvel era. Like
Right.
you said, like people are getting kind of sick of seeing Marvel movie after Marvel movie. And like you said, slowly the last few years, fantasy is starting to creep
So
back in.
here's
I really
the
could
problem,
see it.
though. They can't do that.
Why?
Because there is no way Hasbro will not take ownership of everything.
That's fine. They don't, man, Hasbro does not care. They will license everything out right now. The fact that they're trying to make it such a life brand where it's coffee, toasters, popcorn fucking makers, crock pots.
Yeah, but their user agreement, if Disney does anything with their product, no matter what it is, I mean, they get ownership of it.
Universal Studios, not Disney.
Either way.
I think there's a weird.
There's
'cause
no
it's not-
difference.
there is a difference, man. Because Warner
I'm
Brothers.
joking on their-
Oh yeah.
their-
No, but I'm saying the Warner Brothers.
their
rights-
OGL.
Yeah, but yeah. Fuck. Either way, ladies and gentlemen, I don't really necessarily know whether the new D&D movie is going to be any good. The reviews are looking kind.
It's a
Fun,
good.
lighthearted fantasy, but we're going to unpack an older episode and go into the D&D movie they don't want you to know about. The D&D movie Lost to Time. So please, if you haven't listened to it before or you've already listened, check out what we're going to play next. An older episode of Dungeons and Dragons in 2000. A film held together by superglue. Thank you all for joining us, and stay tuned. Wait a minute, Amanda. You haven't seen Conan?
You really haven't seen Die Hard.
What about Dungeons and Dragons?
Let's remedy that. Welcome to Raised by Spoilers, where we watch and unpack cult movies, some of them good.
And most of them bad.
Welcome to Raised by Spoilers, everyone. Tonight's special episode, we're rolling for initiative and double checking our character sheets, making sure our spell components are right, because we watched the Dungeons and Dragons movie from the 2000, an American fantasy adventure that quickly became a train wreck. Joining me tonight, we have special guest, the Quizart Satarak himself, Nathan,
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me.
the feminist warlord with 2 points in Rogue, Nintendo Geek,
Hello.
sage advice himself, your friend and mine, Plebeian Adam.
I may have sage advice, but I am not a sage class.
That's fair.
At best, I'm like a bard.
2 points bard, 2 points rogue.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit of fighter.
Yeah.
Splash of kerosene.
I love to play my guitar on top of a trailer in an upside down world.
Absolutely. And I'm one of your hosts, Geek Movie House. Folks, friends, adventuring party. You enter a dark, steamy, sweaty room. The smell of popcorn, dirty fingernails, and BO
And
Rifles
the
through the
floor
air.
seems to have a sticky substance that attracts your boot.
This ceiling seems to be dropping some sort of weird popcorn-like substance. It might even be wet gummy bears.
Are you describing
A
Comic-Con?
faint hint of asbestos is riddled throughout the building.
So, all right. So this one is a special one because for the first time, it's not me who hasn't seen something. It's someone else.
Do you check for traps? There are no traps. Nintendo Geek, you've not seen Dungeons and Dragons. So we're going to start with you last. Nathan,
Unfortunately, not.
as our guest, we're going to get to Amanda last.
Okay.
What did you think of this?
I had a lot of fun watching this.
Adam?
I give it a lot more credit than I used to. I've watched this movie many times.
Yeah.
I liked it more this time than I ever have.
Are you thinking, is it a little bit nostalgia glasses? Like we're just kind of like, oh yeah, this is...
No.
Okay.
The last time I watched this movie was before I ever played any sort of Dungeons and Dragons or tabletop RPG.
Okay, so we're going to get to that in a second.
Yeah.
So this was your this is how it is.
This is the
This
taste.
is how you
This
play.
was the sweet spot.
Yeah.
It's like I've played this campaign.
A lot
Yeah.
of people's first expression with D&D nowadays, especially with how the Backstreet Boys reunion tour came through and just kind of decimated the country for the last 2 or 3 years.
2 or 3 years. It's been almost a decade since 5E's.
No, I'm talking about the Backstreet Boys reunion tour.
Oh, okay, sorry.
This isn't a euphemism.
People's first expressions or first introduction to Satan's game was usually through Critical Role.
Yes.
So what I want to ask, because we got into this, you've seen this before you started playing role-playing games.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that. Nintendo Geek, big yawn, throwing it to you. This is your first viewing of this masterpiece of a film.
It is.
Thoughts, prayers. What did you think of
What spells?
what? Oh boy.
I seen a few teleportation spells. I seen a few fireballs coming from gold dragons, which was kind of confusing.
What did you think? Oh, that's a face. That's a sour face. One at it. We're not even going to score right in the beginning. We'll get to the end. We know how the show works. Give us your first taste of Dungeons and Dragons.
It's definitely a movie made in 2000.
Okay, that's fair. That is fair. That is a
And
date.
accurate.
It is exactly accurate, in fact. Exactly 2000.
The CGI is like a little rough, but at the time that was like the gold standard,
Sure.
right? What was their budget?
The same amount of money as Pathfinder.
No.
45 million.
I can see that because there was, like, going back, there was some bad CGI moments in Pathfinder as well. The snow was not real. I'm sorry.
Nor was the blood.
We're not comparing the Pathfinder movie to
No,
the
no,
D&D
no, I know.
movie tonight. We are taking apart.
It was good. I liked the actors they chose. I'm always a sucker for Richard O'Brien showing up. When he turned around, I gasped.
Yes. I knew that would get you. I was
Yeah.
waiting for him
Yeah.
to do, because I knew that was a scene where he turned around
my
and showed his
dear.
face, and I know you have a thing for him and his weirdities.
He showed up in a couple of the movies we
Well,
watched.
Dark
Yeah.
City, Flash Gordon?
Flash Gordon.
Flash
And
Gordon?
now
Yeah, Tree
this
Scorpion.
one.
Yep.
He is the common denominator for, I guess, really B movies. He's such a good actor, though. I wish he was in, like, I'm sure he is in really good movies, but I also love him
Rocky Horror Picture
showing
Show?
up.
Rocky Horror.
Oh, yeah.
Dark City, which
Oh,
you
yeah.
also can listen to on the Raised by Spoiler podcast.
I just wish, like, I do like seeing him. He was I like his maze.
His Death Maze.
The death maze is great.
It was awesome.
The fact that he couldn't traverse through his own death maze, though, is kind of like, really?
Well,
No. So this was a maze designed to protect the Dragon Eye. He said it was his maze. It was never his maze. He was lying. He was lying to bring in thieves to go through it and sacrifice their lives so that they would go get the prize, and he would do exactly what he did, which was like, now take that.
So Richard O'Brien.
Well, that was my
Virtually.
thought too. Was that like he set this thing up? He set the ruby as the prize, and then it's just like, now give me the prize that you've won. Like it's your prize you're giving away. You can just keep it, right?
No, he was lying.
but now that we know that he was lying,
So
Okay.
the idea is almost like Undermountain in Waterdeep, which is a reference not a lot of people will get right now, especially speaking on this podcast. So he built a bar outside of a dungeon and is charging people to go into the dungeon.
Yes.
Richard O'Brien, like in Waterdeep, the Yawning Portal is an entrance to a dungeon. And the entire time, pretty much everybody there's like a scoreboard and all of the shit. They're like, hey, I got 3 levels deep. I got 6 levels deep. I can do better.
Yep.
And there's a little bit of a competition, and it costs 1 gold to go down, and that 1 gold gets you back up to enter the dungeon and exit the dungeon.
Yes.
He's virtually doing the same thing, but he's built a thieves guild at the foot of a dungeon and saying, hey, you want to prove yourself? Go deep, and you'll join the guild. If you come back with the red dragon's eye, you're in. You're an honorary member of our guild.
But what I'm not saying is, you go do this. Oh, yeah, prove your worth. You outsmarted the maze. Now it's mine. We're going to kill you.
We're going to kill you.
Yeah.
Haha.
He knew he
We're
wasn't.
thieves.
Yeah, he knew he wasn't good enough, or at least thought he wasn't good enough. He's more of a charlatan rogue than like a dexterous pick locks rogue.
Like like a cat burglar
Yeah.
rogue.
Well, he was doing math the whole time. Like, he would see how the trajectories were going with the saws and everything, and he was like kind of like doing the math on the floor, and he's like, okay, if I do this, this, and this, and it was definitely, you can tell, like, oh, he's rolling proverbial dice and doing intelligence checks or dexterity checks. Or
I do have to ask the important question because, like I said, we were talking about it, where the last time I watched this movie, it was before I ever played, well, not before I ever played seriously a tabletop RPG.
So,
having everyone here played tabletop and specifically D&D.
Satan's game. Thank you.
Did this feel like an adventure you've played before?
Almost.
We're jumping all over the place. So before we get into the death maze and we explain more of the plot, because I do want to go through the plot, because there's a lot of cool scenes and stuff that we enjoyed, especially the beginning with the river catching on fire. Go through the D&D question that you had, just because I want to get us back to things. So I
just need to know, did this feel ultimately like an adventure that you have played in before with the characters and the MacGuffins and so on and so forth?
Yes. There were aspects of it, like there was that one scene where they reach a town and like you have your thief that's just taking stuff, you have your mage who's off shopping, you have your dwarf who's being curmudgeonly, and it's just I think, as the saying is, you're trying to wrangle cats and trying to get everybody to go in one direction, and that's what kind of got me going on that. It's like, yes, can we go on? We have a mission. Let's stop shopping for one goddamn second.
Yeah.
The dwarf's line, if I'm not drinking, you're not shopping. But you know, within the game mechanics of it, the wizard or the mage would be buying components.
Yep.
Yes.
The rogue would be stealing whatever's not nailed down.
Which he was.
And the dwarf would be the dwarf or the dwarf fighter or whoever the curmudgeon is at the table, who just isn't really either feeling the role play, the shopping episode, or whatever it is that day, is like, why the fuck are we still in this market? I don't care.
I've already sharpened my axe three times.
Yeah, we've done this. We've done this kind of thing. I think there is some lovely reminders. There's some fun, like, callbacks. There's not a lot of references. It walks that fine line of generic fantasy, unless there was, dragons?
Beholders.
We had beholders in two scenes where they're kind of floating away and chasing them. We don't actually get any beholder combat or anything like that. There wasn't any real other iconic D&D monster.
The red dragon, maybe?
Sort of, but it was also the same character model as the gold dragon.
But
I think it had more sharp bits, more pointy bits on it.
The movie was called Dungeons and Dragons, and we got a metric fuck ton of both of those.
We did get it. We got one dungeon.
No. We got at least two or three.
The dictionary definition of a dungeon, as in like a place under a castle where you keep prisoners, I think we had one.
Two, because the
I would
villains
call the
stayed in
death
a dungeon.
mage. The death mage or the death maze. Yeah,
I don't think. Well, I think that was a dungeon in the D&D sense, but it wasn't a dungeon in like medieval castle sense.
That's fair.
I mean, the beginning of the movie panned into a dungeon.
That is true.
Where he was keeping the original red dragon that got crushed by the game.
Yeah, he was trying to create a staff.
That was a gold dragon.
Yeah.
Oh.
But in a very red environment, so like it looked kind of reddish.
Okay.
With all the fire and the odds and ends. going on.
But then you got the dungeon and dragon within the first 2 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, there was a dragon in a dungeon.
There you go.
Hey.
And a movie.
I do love the opening where it like pans down and you go underneath in the sewer, and the first scene that they cut to is a dude stirring water.
He was shoveling water.
Okay, shoveling water, but with like runic circles. Like I think Nathan, your first question was, "What the fuck is he doing?" Like,
See, I'm like, wow, this is like cool props. Oh my god, like they put a lot into this. Like, wow.
yeah,
So-
they had the cool
Then I'm like,
orbital.
why are there so many skulls everywhere?
Because it was a villain. It was a villain dungeon. It was
Yeah,
a
how do you
villain
know if they're a
lair.
villain if they don't have skulls
I
everywhere?
guess he's a warlock, so that makes sense.
Yeah, and I do love they had like the swirling thing holding the staff.
Yeah.
I don't know what they call
wheels
them.
within wheels.
Wheels within wheels spinning in weird directions.
They're actually...
Like a gyroscope within a
Nope.
gyroscope.
Let me pull up
within
my
a
D&D
gyroscope.
notes. Nope,
Anyway,
that's
well,
the wrong
we
one.
wait.
Keep going.
Let's describe wheels
Yeah.
some more.
So
I don't have it. I have it written.
speaking of which, that was, I think, the people who got them. I can't tell if Jeremy Irons
I don't have
Prothean got the most screen time versus the main heroes. It's very close.
He was very expensive, and I want to say he was on set for 3 days.
Yeah, I
max.
don't think he got a ton of screen time.
He openly has said that he only did this movie for the paycheck.
Oh yeah,
In
yeah.
many interviews. One thing I want to jump back to when you guys said sets and set dressing and props. The film was directed and shot in the Czech.
Okay.
The Czech Republic has changed shipping laws, so they couldn't get prosthetic glue. They couldn't get certain props. They couldn't get stuff to build sets.
No.
And the set director, I cannot remember his name, but he worked on The Labyrinth, Dark Crystal, and a few
Okay.
other big fantasy movies.
Damn.
And he was furious the entire time.
Oh yeah.
Budget restraints, and then all of a sudden, just because of where they were shooting, they just didn't have stuff. So they had to use like Elmer's glue to fucking glue prosthetics to people's face.
Oh.
Like there was the movie itself was doomed from the start.
Well, yeah, because they had all the lawsuits,
Right.
or not the lawsuits, but like the ownership kind of going back and forth because of TSR's crumbling, and I think it was right. We talked about it where it was TSR kind of started the rights of the movies and sold off the rights, and then WotC, in the middle of buying the stuff from TSR, basically got stuck with this movie as is. Like they hated it, but they had to honor it contractually.
Well, Lorraine Williams is the woman who pushed Gary Gygax out of TSR and took over the company.
Oh,
Okay, very forcefully. She was notorious for control and hating her clientele. She looked down upon the nerds.
really?
So she hated all of the D&D people for a long time. This was a toy company, and that was it. She was real monster to work with, apparently. So she was in control of the script. So pretty much everyone, when they went to go finally make the movie, it had to go through Lorraine Williams and TSR, and she fucking hated D&D. So it had nothing to do with anything recognizable. It wasn't set in Sword Coast. And it was just a mess. So when Wizards stepped in to take over, the company that was working on it at the time had already made 5 or 6 different drafts of the script. They cleaned it up. And the only stipulation was that they kept the original scripts that were approved by TSR. So they couldn't do anything that they fixed. So this movie is technically the first draft of the script of the movie. And unfortunately, the producers, the gentleman that wanted to do it, the way he got the rights to the D&D movie was he called TSR as a high school student, lying, asking once like a month, inquiring for a project to know who owned the Dungeons and Dragons rights. And then finally he showed up to TSR one day with a booklet saying, here's the pitch for a movie idea. I want to do 3 films.
Oh no.
So they said, okay, we're down. You've never directed, you've never done anything like this before, but we're inspired by your ingenuity, and your
Tenacity.
creativity, and your tenacity. So imagine a world
In a
where he had. Can we look at the director's name?
Sure. The director was Courtney Solomon.
Courtney Solomon.
Oh, he's
That is not
Toronto, Ontario.
Go back one more.
That's it.
Go down.
Written by.
Carol Wright. Okay. Go down one more time. Where is it? It was Silver Pictures, which is a subplot of another company, which is another company.
Yeah.
Originally, I'm sorry for the dead air, everybody, the pregnant pause. Originally, Francis Ford Coppola was signed onto this.
Okay.
That's the guy who did The Godfathers.
Yeah, I know.
The next person that they had sit down, they had contracts signed up for this for 3 movies, was James Cameron.
Ooh.
James Cameron was supposed to make 3 Dungeons and Dragons movies.
I don't think he would have done a good job.
The reason why James Cameron didn't do it is because Jim Cameron wanted exclusive toy rights.
And he's smart to ask for that.
Because he wanted, okay, I'll do 3 movies. I'll do 3 D&D movies coming out of the 80s and the 90s, but I want the toy rights for it. I think they knew Wizards was going to get sold,
Yeah.
so they didn't give him the rights, so Cameron fell through.
Oh.
But he was going to direct three movies.
Wow.
Yeah! Which is kind of wild when you think of a James Cameron Dungeons & Dragons movie.
I
right?
could not imagine Jimmy Cameron making Jimmy Cameron of Avatar and Titanic
Alien,
fame.
Terminator.
Aliens. I don't think he did the first Alien.
Aliens. Ridley Scott did the first one.
Yeah. I could not imagine him making a D&D. I can either say there'd be more battles and the battles would be cooler, but I don't know if the story plot would be sticking truer to the lore. Because all I think about is Transformers.
Right.
And how, yeah, okay, it was a very action-packed and he had cool action scenes, but he fucked with the lore of Transformers and like the story and the idea of it.
My guy, let me push up the glasses for a second.
Actually,
You're thinking Michael Bay.
Oh, you're right, I am.
James Cameron hasn't made a bad movie.
You are very correct,
James
sir.
Cameron has not made a bad movie.
I'm an idiot.
Think about what you just named.
Yeah.
Terminator 2, Aliens,
Yeah.
fucking Avatar, the Avatars,
EVTRs. Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. I am thinking Michael Bay when I'm thinking
The
Transformers.
Abyss. Like, there's a lot of fucking
you're right.
huge movies.
He would have done a
Huge
great
movies.
job.
Huge movies. You're thinking Michael Bay.
Yeah, I am. You're right.
So he wanted toy rights because he wanted the same thing Lucas wanted, but he wanted to jump on the back of it.
But he's a clever man. That was
He
the
is
right
a clever
choice for
man,
him.
but also they're a toy company. The interesting thing is TSR folded, Wizards bought in, they stuck and gave a bunch of red tape and said, fuck it, we're going to make this movie for half the budget you had. So scrap everything you already worked on. This is all you can do. The other thing, before we get into back to the plot and everything, because I'm going a little long, Lord of the Rings comes out a year later.
Oh, was it that close?
And Harry Potter.
December 8th, 2000. Lord of the Rings Fellowship is 2001. Harry Potter, I think, either came out this year or the next year.
They came out the same year, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I don't.
2001.
2001.
Yep.
So a lot of the big studios already were working on or sitting on their blockbuster.
The thing is, I don't think Harry Potter right now. Dungeons and Dragons is a big hit and easy
Massive.
win.
Satan's Game.
Yeah, back then I think Harry Potter was a bigger thing because I remember even in my grade 6 we were reading Harry Potter.
Right.
Well, the books were still being released.
Yeah, so it was a big deal. Like back then, D&D wasn't as big of a brand as it is now.
Right. Which
makes total
means the
sense.
movie's kind of dead in the water.
Yeah.
Because when it came out, people did not really like it.
And I think there's also a lot of nowadays, if you do a D&D, people get it. People know what, there's a reference that she makes when she captures the 2 snails and Ridley.
Yeah.
They're in a holding spell. And she goes, I'd have to cast Feeble Mind on myself to want to be with you.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah, that's a fucking great spell reference.
Gotcha. Yeah.
It's a great spell reference. But the thing is, you wouldn't really catch that if you've never played. And
Right.
most people back in 2001,
2001, yeah.
have not played it.
So let me ask you this, Adam, because you know the game a little bit longer than I do. What edition are we at with 2000?
In 2000, we're just beginning 3.5.
When the game got complicated.
There was always, it was more complicated before.
More
that.
complicated before?
3.5 was oddly enough less complicated.
Okay. So let me ask you a secondary question, Nathan.
It had more rules, but the rules were less complicated.
General vibe of a board game store in 2000.
Did they exist in 2000?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Of course.
for
Comic
sure.
book shops and board game stores.
General vibe of a board game store in 2000, I would say,
As diverse as it is now?
largely vacant.
See, there used to be a Warhammer shop in our mall, and I
Games
remember,
Workshop.
Yeah, Games Workshop. I remember going there I was about 15, 16, and I'm like, this is like neat. Like I've heard of, like I was a big Lord of the Rings fan. I heard of D&D, and I'm like, yeah, that seems really cool. Like, you know, Warhammer.
Let's talk about 40K for like 5 hours.
And then I would walk in, and it would be a bunch of like, you know, 20-year-old guys or like teenager guys, and I felt so alienated. I just like walked right out. I'm like, this is not for me, because everyone here is like, why the hell is there a girl here?
I don't think that's changed. It's been better, but I still think it's fully changed.
And it's not
Yeah.
necessarily because of girl, but like you walk in and you don't know anything about Games Workshop, and everybody there is so tight knit, and they're talking about Teclis is the HQ for my Sigmar army. Oh, I prefer Tyrion as my cavalry.
They're
mount.
defending something
then-
they love.
Yeah.
That way they don't have to.
Well, it's not
was
just
not
that
welcoming.
they're going on about their own thing, and as an outsider trying to come in, you've got nothing. You've got nothing.
Right.
It's like when somebody tries to talk football with me. Like I doesn't mean anything to me.
Yeah. So this movie,
Third edition.
yeah. So
Third
third
edition
edition
is what they were pushing.
Yeah,
Okay.
third edition. 3.5 came out 3 years afterwards because 3.5 was like third edition sucked and it was
Right.
sucked. But 3.5 is very similar to 3.
So they were trying to sell third edition and the movie. And
Yeah.
Gary had left the company, so there was already a bit of a divide.
Yeah. So after I do like the idea that, you know, he's got this rod. He's trying to create the rod that controls dragons.
Right. Okay.
And-
so we're getting back to the beginning of the
Yeah.
plot.
He fails to do this and it sends like
Shockwave.
like a shockwave of fire out the river, and everyone notices it. They're like, and I do kind of like that there's a city of mages and everyone's like, it's just some fucking mage thing.
Mages being mages.
Mages being, and they're not really sure what to do. Like they're like, oh, whatever. It's welcome to a fucking Tuesday.
Well, no, because the whole thing is like there's slaves, then there's second-class citizens known as common folk.
Yeah.
Then there's us mages, and then there's the dragons.
No, I think
No.
then it's the princess, or she's an
The
empress.
Empress.
as far as I can tell, the politics
How the
is you
fuck
have
did that work?
slaves, commoners, mages, and then like the mage council.
No, did they have slaves? Because I remember in the intro they said that people are almost slaves.
Pretty much slaves. Yeah. They basically treated the commoners like slaves. They're more like serfs than slaves, but yeah. But they have like the council of mages. So there's mages, and then there's like the council of mages,
So
the
we're
high
dealing in
mages.
mageocracy.
Well, it's like
Mageocracy.
it's like they have instead of like the U.S. has 3 branches of government, they have 2. They got the empress, they got the council.
Yeah, and they've got the council which votes, and it's a bunch of mages because combined, if all the mages bound together, they could beat the empress because the empress had control of the dragon rod. So she had power for the dragon rod, but they had power because there was a shit ton of mages.
they were parliament.
They were part. Yeah,
They were parliament, and the queen said nay.
yeah. And basically, Prothean was at first his goal was okay. Well, I'll go make a rod that can control the golden dragons, and I'll just fuck with her golden
steal with
dragons.
it.
I'll steal her dragons to make a war. Instead, he's like, all right, well, that's not working because it failed.
It failed.
So I'm going to convince the council
He tried one time.
to go to war.
Who knows how long he's actually been trying to do that? Because
One
it's secretly
time.
weeks
Yeah, no, for sure.
and weeks of plotting.
Yeah.
Human sacrifices.
And fucking those facial expressions.
Oh my God.
From
Jeremy Irons. Just
Long
devours.
live the king.
Devours every single scene.
Oh, he got so it was very. I felt like he thought it was a play where because in a play you generally have to act even larger than a movie because people are sitting so far away. So I felt like he was doing the whole Shakespearean actor thing, which was great.
I think he was acting much like how I forget the actor who played Skeletor.
Oh yeah,
He was acting like very like you said, like he was trying to project across a stage rather than like, no, you have a microphone, you don't have to go that hard. Like we're right here. you
Yeah.
know? But he's acting like it's like a whole like, you know.
And that's the thing about Jeremy Irons. He openly said like he did it for the money.
Yeah.
But he didn't phone it in.
No,
He's a professional. The man's a professional. The man's very much a professional.
he gave it all, and I'm not gonna lie. I was originally upset at the actor, and when I first watched it, first few times I watched it, I never liked the actor. I don't know his name. I gotta find that out. Bruce Payne.
Bruce Payne.
I liked him as
He was
Damodar.
good. He was unsettling.
Yeah,
He's
he was always quiet. He
unsettling.
never yelled. He was, "Oh, I'm going to get
Well, at one point when he's interrogating
Girl.
The
Marina, they're both like whispering at each other in the dungeon. I'm like, why are we whispering?
Oh yeah. I remember that scene. Like she was talking normal. He walks in and he just whispers.
Yeah, and he's like,
Sucks the
where
air out
is
of
it?
him.
I
And
think
then-
I took that as he controls the environment. He came in, he was such a powerful character that he comes in, he's like, I don't need to yell. People listen no matter what.
He also has an alien parasite in him that's like eating
Yeah.
his brain. So
Yeah.
maybe.
And blue lips, but that's neither here nor
I
there.
love those blue lips. Oh,
Love him. No, I think I hated him at first when I first started watching this. I figured but I kind of like his over the topness and his whispery, raspy thing going on.
And he was so aloof as well.
He's a great villain.
Yeah, he's a great villain. He's very cliche, very great. He's you know what? He's one of those things where like, listen, I want to throw a fighter boss at my characters because fighter bosses tend to suck because they're just one note characters.
they're a good like bad guy you build up.
Yeah,
Right? There's somebody the farmers are dealing with.
But
There's
this
someone.
one is tenacious.
Sure.
yeah, but I like that because they threw him at him, and after his first failure, so after they're robbing the mage tower, and they get the scroll, and after he goes back and he fails, it reminded me of like a DM pulling off a really cool move. You've beat the villain, right? You ran away. But the villain next time, he's not just a fighter. Now he's a fighter with this like Cthulian fucking
Brain parasite.
He's got
brain
something
parasite
else on him. Yeah.
and that makes him more like as a DM, like a tabletop DM. It makes me want to throw that villain at someone because you're like, oh, he's a fighter, except not.
Yeah, as soon
'Cause
as you
he's-
take X amount of points off of him, this happens.
Yeah.
Something changes and it's way worse. He's either hitting with full damage or it's just awful.
Yeah, and you're wondering, oh, how did he get information out of people? Oh, well, he just fucking reads their minds.
Right.
It's so good. He's such a good villain.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the elithid parasite
Yes.
in his head. Which also would have been a really cool twist.
Yeah.
Is if Jeremy Irons himself was an illithid. A mind flayer looking for full control.
Yeah, that
Which would have been a big old, it's a Dungeons and Dragons reference, everyone. Watch out. It's the D&D movie.
They probably didn't get that particular right. They only got dragons, which are standard. They probably didn't have to have rights for that.
Couple
and a beholder.
dungeons.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I don't think they made any other reference that I
sauce.
recognize.
That was about it. Because, they don't really mention anything.
No, because even in Thieves Guild, there's a lot of people in face paint.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
The one looked like a watermelon.
They did have
It was
Watermelon
like the
Man.
light green with like the dark green stripes and
There was that one guy in the marketplace where he had 3 eyes and he
Purple
was just
Man?
like licking his
Oh,
lips
him,
and
yeah.
flicking his tongue around.
I
had
love
eyes.
that guy.
he had eyes on his cheeks too.
Did he?
Those
Oh, I
were
didn't see
those
that.
eyes or
Those
were
look like
those
little
like
eyes.
horns?
Maybe.
I think
Ooh.
I didn't notice him as eyes.
no.
Oh, okay.
'Cause he had like a fin in the middle of his down like the crest of his skull. He's had that third head, and he was going around like flicking his tongue and like licking the air wherever he went.
He was into that shit. Like,
Oh, my God.
that sounded
So
terrible.
our characters, our heroes, quote unquote, flee
it.
the city
Yeah.
with the mage, Maria,
After they accidentally steal the map.
they accidentally steal the magical map.
Kind of. The
And there's a
head
pool-
mage
there's a bit
throws
of
it
a-
to them because Damodar's trying to get the mage.
Yeah, there's
Right.
a bit of a political coup,
Yeah.
and the mageocracy is trying to take over.
Yes.
Spoilers, but the Empress just goes, "Fuck it, I'll kill everyone." It's like, what?
Guys, we need to take over the Empress because she could use her powers
She's out
to
of
take
control.
over everything.
You want to see out of fucking control? Hard cut. Next scene: dragons everywhere, burning shit down.
I like
What?
I'd like to think there was a steps 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah.
between now
No,
and then,
but there's this whole like.
Go get me the red dragon staff so I can rain hell down on these
'cause
people.
What had happened was you had the mageocracy said to the Empress, it was like, we don't like you having the gold dragon staff. Give up the gold dragon
You're a
staff.
bit too emotional as a woman and the person in charge.
And her response was, I will rain down fire.
Yeah, man.
Okay, in that argument, look how emotional Profian was. Like he did not have a scene where he wasn't like ah.
Profian.
Like he wasn't calm the
Profian did
entire
nothing wrong,
movie.
Okay. Profian did nothing
She
wrong.
was stone faced and
Hashtag
collected
vote
the whole
Profian.
time.
Profian.
Profian was trying to overthrow a tyrannical dictatorship.
I do love the idea that he's like, we gotta take the staff from her because she could melt us at any moment. And she will, because we don't agree with her. And then they're like, yeah, we should.
But what should we do instead?
They're like, well, and she's like, I don't want to, but I fucking will.
So my only thing is I would have rather just a sliver of that pie for a little bit more lore on why the commoners are so slave like they're not free
Because they don't have powers.
Because they don't, just power.
Sorry, my guy, that's just how it works.
Yeah. They don't.
That's how it works. You either born with magic or you're not born with magic.
We've all watched X-Men.
Think about it. Honestly, it's a classical tale. Those who are born with when you have magical powers. Okay, if you are being hired for a job.
Okay.
And
is it a magic job? Can we keep this relevant?
Sure. You flick your wrist, and let's just assume janitors, the classically lowly of lows.
Okay.
No offense to janitors, it's a very important job.
No, I'm not.
I wouldn't be a janitor though if I was a mage.
Sure, but let's say you flick your wrist and you can have 5 rooms cleaned at once from prestidigitation.
Right.
Versus a commoner who has to do the same thing. So you're not going to get paid as much because you can't flick your wrist and do the same thing. So you're naturally not going to be paid as well. Therefore, you're not going to be able to go to as good as schools. You're going to be able to put your kids in as good schools. And it's naturally going to snowball into a situation where your type of people, your commoner, unmagic people, don't get the benefits.
I don't understand the
We're
scenario.
talking about-
I can do magic though. So that doesn't make any sense to me.
But what I would have liked to see
fantasy unions.
Well, I'm talking about fantasy rich people, and we'll call money magic in this scenario.
Yeah.
So I don't fucking understand.
Okay, what I would have liked to see in the film, but I'm gonna go ahead here, but I feel like I'm trying to see like the depths of an ocean in this puddle of a plot.
Yeah.
But I would have liked
raised by spoilers, everyone.
Yeah. I would have liked to see more, like you said, how the commoners are slaves. Like they seemed fine. Like nobody, there were no chains, there were no whips, nobody was making anybody do anything.
There wasn't an evil force.
They weren't
evil.
They weren't living
politics.
in squalor. They were just living. It just happened to be that the mages were living.
I see what you're saying.
Up here, while everybody else was living just humble lives.
This was a movie where they're telling us how bad they live, not showing us how bad they live.
That is exactly why Snails and Ridley were having that dilemma the entire movie, being like, why the fuck are we doing this?
Yeah.
Well, it's the rich people are rich. Yeah, but we're not going to change anything. Yeah, but the girl who can shoot sparklers out of her hand is saying that the richest person's good.
Yeah.
Well, and Snails is like, my guy, we're going to fucking scoop what we can off the top. We're going to lay low. We're going to get the fuck out of here.
Wrong.
They did him dirty.
I am so mad that he died.
We got a Han Solo character, and then we got Marlon Wayans, who just fucking fumbles his way through this film because they give him nothing to do except trip over himself, which is kind of shitty. And the entire time he's asking, we're laughing because we're like, oh, look, the funny man. He's asking the serious questions. Yep. Why the fuck are we here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not that this is above our pay grade, but hey, man, this doesn't affect us, and there's gonna be thieves guilds. Guess what? There's corruption.
Yeah.
Guess what? Every situation that they go in and they have to be daring and face challenges, they're just hit with corruption. So it kind of fucks up the whole system of like, hey, if we fix the top, it'll trickle down, because it won't.
Yeah. Hey, the Empress who has the power and wants to fix it. How come she hasn't already done that?
Right. Why has she been
did,
sitting on her hands this entire time?
She did at the end of the movie, where we hear a voiceover where she says, "Good job, everybody. You're now all equal.
Sorry.
Problem
That
solved."
was my
Ignore
thing.
me
Why
burning
did
down everything.
But why did
You're free?
Well, my question is, why did it take getting the Red Dragon staff and destroying the Red Dragon staff, which was her only opposition, to then have
total supremacy.
her...
No.
Total supremacy. Total supremacy.
I'm going to be fair here. The problem was the whole plot here was she wanted to make the commoners equal.
Adam, can you be fair here, because the Empress hasn't been?
Yeah. She wanted to make the people fair, but there's that dichotomy where she has power and the council people don't want that. Because remember, their power comes from mages. Their power comes from magic. Her power doesn't come from magic. Her power comes from the dragons. So the mages are like, well, we want mages to be special. So they kept that structure in place, and she's still growing up.
Yeah, because the mages are still running the schools and the universities and the hospitals.
And then you introduce the Red Dragon. No. But then you introduce the Red Dragon staff, and whoever has the Red Dragon staff then has I guess you could say twice as much power. If one staff can meet a council of mages, then a council of mages plus a red staff can beat the gold staff, or the gold staff and the red staff can beat
So
the
why
council
was
of
she
mages.
after the red fucking staff?
I don't know.
Because she
So
wanted
she-
to beat the council.
She wanted to defeat the other.
Proving the fucking
Profane.
council right.
Yes, but also she did it
council-
for the good reasons.
Sure, but
Air
Procyon-
quotes.
No, we haven't
No.
seen any fucking good reasons.
Procyon also
She's like,
wanted...
oh man, the poor people are really stuck in a hard place. Pity.
No, but my question is why did it take all that to happen for her to do that?
Oh, no one can oppose me now.
So
You're
they-
all free.
That's
They
what I
did
just
make a
said.
sentence. Here's the weird thing. They did make a sentence right at the beginning where Profian was saying she hasn't come up with the ability to use the staff yet. She has not learned to use it yet. So she has not been able to really reign control because she hasn't been able to do it
Until
yet.
the end of the movie where
Listen
she
to
was
this.
riding it and it.
Listen to this pro-emperor simp. She's fucking riding the dragon at the end of the movie, being like, all of you, listen to me. Destroy them. Destroy all of them. I wanted to rain blood and scales. Like, all right, please. She doesn't have control. Hard cut. She's in battle armor. She's strapped on a saddle of a dragon, and they are ripping apart the sky.
Well,
So-
okay. To
so
be
she
fair, we
gained
opened this
control
up.
at the end of the movie.
We opened up the movie, and it's Jeremy Irons is trying to make a staff so that he could push through his political mandates.
He wants to rule.
He's the one who gums or throws everything out of balance. Because if Jeremy Irons died at the beginning of the movie, then I think the Empress's mandate for everybody's equality now
Would have come through.
Would have
And
come
Han
through.
Solo never would have stole the goddamn plans.
Luke and Leia would have
to
never
the
kissed.
the red dragon lightsaber or the red dragon staff.
So Jeremy Irons in this situation was a shit disturber, and if he left well enough alone, then Empress Savina, would have done equality thumbs up emoji.
Sort of,
Yes.
but with two dragon staffs.
Well, no, there
She
wouldn't have been any
gotten
dragon
the other
staffs.
dragon staff.
But
She
she
never would
sent
have gotten it.
she sent her boys like literally the first part
She
before
sent
they
them
died.
to go get the staff in order for her to defeat Profian. So if he would have died, like Nathan said, there would have been no point.
If Profian wasn't gumming up the works,
Yeah, she would have had no need for it.
yeah.
She only did it because she felt that what they were doing was they want to keep the status quo. The council wants to keep the status quo because they're selfish sons of bitches.
yeah,
Right.
Profian wanted to rule.
Right.
And he was convincing them to do what he wanted.
give him the control.
And she's like, well, first of all, she doesn't want the council to win because she wants everyone to be equal. And she definitely doesn't want Profian to win because that's even worse than what council wants.
Profian played by Jeremy Irons, everyone, just if you haven't caught up yet. He's the main
Profian
villain of
and
this
the
campaign.
Empress are both the radicals in this
I think they're
situation.
both bad dudes.
I think the Empress is poorly written because they're like, well, she doesn't have the power to know her staff and she can't use it to
Do they
enact
give
strength.
another female character fuck all to do in a movie?
Oh, yeah.
The elf.
Can you scroll
with
down
the
to
really
see
cool,
what her name
like,
was?
the armor.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
Can you scroll down to see
her
what
only
the
lines
Elf
were like,
Rangers?
no, this is something only he can do.
She
This is something
does-
only Ridley can do.
She does beat up some henchmen at some point.
She does. I think the only character... Here's the deal. There is one character that did least than any other character in this.
The what elf?
No.
The dwarf.
The dwarf ate a fucking
dwarf.
The
Elwood.
The dwarf ate his body weight in chicken, and he made some jokes. The problem with this movie is nobody took it too serious. Nobody took it seriously enough except Jeremy Irons,
They
and
didn't
he didn't
write-
even fucking want to be there.
I think part of the problem with this movie is it felt like a movie from the 70s.
Yeah.
But it was a movie in the 2000s. So
Sure.
they didn't take it seriously enough because the 2000s were the age of like dark and gritty seriousness.
Batman was on its way out? Or was about to come out?
No, Batman 2000. Matrix came out a year before.
Oh, right.
Matrix was
hang on.
99.
Yeah.
Yeah, so everything was like super serious around this time. And the problem was this was lighthearted. This was too early of an era. This was like the Flash Gordon style, but in a new age. And people weren't into that then. They wanted a serious, dark story.
This was Blade.
I mentioned it to Nathan after when
Like
we were
Blade
about to
1
come in
or
here
2.
to record, and I'm like, at least if it was an 80s movie, it would have had an excuse to be
Yes.
as like lackluster as it turned out to be. Like it was, I did like it. It just fell flat with half the characters not having anything to work with.
Well,
Now,
that's
okay,
just-
you said what you just said, but also at the beginning, we all said that, or at least some of us have said that this feels like a campaign in D&D that everybody's played.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's saying that everybody's campaign has been a
What an insult.
80s movie theme.
Yes. No,
You have
Yeah.
your tropes, everybody fits into those tropes, and
the thing is here's the shtick. When we're at a table, we're not professional writers. We're not Critical Role. We're not Matt Mercer. We're
not.
And we're not voice actors that play in these things.
but
So-
I could be if I tried really hard.
Yeah. So when we come to a table, the truth is we're bad writers. We're making it up on the spot, and we're probably half drunk.
And I try really hard, and I can't be.
Half drunk. Come
Yeah. So you go, okay, this writing of this high budget movie, I don't know if it's that considered high budget, 44 mil.
I mean, I can think of some cool shit for 44 mil.
Yeah. But if you're sitting there thinking your 44 mil budgeted movie has the same level and experience of writing as my drunken crew on a Saturday night,
Yes.
that's your problem.
Good on you, though. That's an attitude, sir. That's an attitude. That's an attitude.
Okay, but
I
if
honestly,
you turn
when
it
you asked
around-
that though about has everyone played a D&D campaign like this? I'm like, wow, that's a real fucking insult right there. But,
okay,
is he
okay.
calling it bad? Is he calling everybody's
How about
campaign
this?
shit? Like,
Everybody's campaign now has the writing potential of an early 2000s film.
Yes.
yeah, I think that's a sweet spot. If you're not writing 80s cartoons, you're writing early 2000s action movies.
Yeah.
Seriously, if it's either not overly cheesy or there's not enough explosions, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah. So
So yeah,
after we meet the dwarf, because there's this running away with the map hijinks.
And the dwarf shows up.
yeah,
just
he wakes up in a pile of cabbage
Next
with
to-
a sign that says "No dwarfs
no
allowed."
dwarves.
yeah, I love it. I never noticed that sign before.
Well, fucking no. Neither did
And
the dwarf.
through this dwelling that he jumps through is the sewer system.
Yes,
which
yes,
he
the
was
cabbage
sleeping
sewers.
in.
Do you not have cabbage sewers in the county?
No, they haven't put them in yet.
They haven't put them in yet. See, there's this thing they did. It's a biodegradable. It's just a cabbage shoot.
Does it work for other vegetables, or is it
Honestly,
cabbage
the
exclusive?
problem is so many dwarves get backed up into it that they've had to actually uninstall a few of them.
Now, I know
Whole
there's been an
system.
issue between dwarves and kobolds. Is that going to be an issue?
Honestly, it's weird because kobolds, they get themselves all greased up in griffin grease and they just slide right down the chute. It's the slippery dwarves, for some reason, they just get clogged up in there. almost like
It's their
grapes
hair
in
gets
straw.
like wrapped around and
Yeah.
shit.
Oh,
Yeah.
like the beards, like both male and female.
No,
Yes.
you got to
Or-
get that big old like snake with the teeth. It's like a big comb, and you just drag it through the sewer system to pull the dwarves out of it.
Right, right.
So
yeah.
they do that, and I do love that the next scene is them just at a bar, and the dwarfs are like, "All right, so what are we doing next?" You're like, dwarf, no one sees your name, no one
What's
knows
your
your
name?
face.
What was his name?
Who are you?
Who are you?
Elwood Gutworthy.
Did anybody say Elwood in the whole entirety of the movie?
Maybe.
Fuck no, man. The guy showed up, and you're right. He was just
He's
like,
like, "I'm
hey,
here
I'm
now."
down a pound, and I'm here to drink. And it's like, fuck yes. I need more of these.
No,
yes, man.
I think the phrase was when Snails was looking at the ranger, Norda,
Norda, yeah.
Norda.
being like, "Oh, you don't want her. You want a woman that you can really grab onto." And he shook violently for a second, and it's like, holy shit!
With some
That's
meat on her
actually-
bones.
That's
Usually-
actually
No, he said 250-pound dwarf with the beard you could really hang on to.
That's
really
what-
hang on to. That's what it was.
That
And I'm
was-
like, what the hell?
that was actually his audition tape,
Oh.
and he improvised 90% of that.
But the thing is you can tell. You start a campaign.
Yeah.
You do have a session 0.
Yeah.
You have, in this case, a session 1 maybe, and then you have a buddy that's like, "Hey, I kind of want to play in that
Yeah.
session," and then he
Joins
shows
at
up,
level 2.
joins at whatever level, and he goes. Everyone goes, "Okay, how do you introduce him to the party?" He goes, "I don't know.
I'm here now.
He's here now, and he likes fucking tugging on his girls' beards and eating chicken."
Yep.
You're like, "That's my character. I introed him in a bar."
That's
He's also
personality.
the player that shows up without dice
Yeah.
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. He shows up 5 minutes late to every session without dice.
Yeah, you're right. He's that guy.
Yeah.
So
Here to
it's-
have a great time, not a long time.
It's just shitty fucking writing. But they put a lot of budget into. They had a bunch of people in the tavern that were all in costume or just a shit ton of face paint.
Oh, the orcs were great.
They did not look like orcs.
Shit.
No,
they look like the Krogan from fucking Mass Effect.
Yes, I love their armor. I thought they were great.
They weren't orcs to me, not once. And I go, that's an orc.
Okay, hi everybody. Listen, we did spoilers. We've had a couple drinks. Sorry, this is a little bit of a louder episode, but we had just previously watched Pathfinder. Go check that episode out. It's a lot of fun. We had a great time. Carl Urban. Wow, what an easy on the eyes that one is. But there are gentlemen Vikings, 7 feet tall motherfuckers, and we kept saying these orcs are doing damage. The Krogan in this Dungeons and Dragons movie look nothing like orcs.
See,
so whatever you're about to defend,
I call them
you're
orcs
wrong.
only
I'm
because
sorry, my guy.
I call them orcs only because they were green, and I assume they are orcs.
orcs can't be gray.
Okay,
You can't have gray orcs where you're from.
Yeah.
Holy shit! Garrett Gygax is turning in his fucking grave.
So they have this map that they're rolling out.
Whatever animal, creature, race they are.
I will say there's no
They
drow
look
in this
cool.
movie. There's a lot of white people.
Yeah.
A lot of white people, and then instead of just, hiring a diverse cast, they just start putting face paint on people.
You have a watermelon person in one of the scenes.
They looked like a watermelon.
There's just a lot of people with face paint on.
Yeah.
There's not a really big diverse casting kind of thing.
No,
Which is
absolutely.
I'd say, right? We have one dwarf. We have a couple, I don't want to say little people.
Sure.
If that's the correct terminology.
I can't tell if they're dwarfs or whatnot.
I don't want to say
think-
halfling. I don't
no,
want to say short
They
person.
do
but
mention halflings in the.
They make one
They
joke.
make one reference to a halfling,
And we get one elf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We get one
Okay,
elf.
I'm not convinced Snails wasn't an elf because you never see his ears.
Wow, what a cool twist if they gave him something else to do in the movie besides die.
And be neurotic.
Right. His whole purpose was to
Slapstick
be
humor.
voice of reason, like to be the counter humor.
Yeah.
And then through that humor, you're supposed to care for him so that when he needlessly wasted his life,
Right.
you'd feel bad for him.
Right.
They didn't even grab the. I didn't see them grab the map.
Yeah,
But if
I
they
don't
did,
understand
they
that
didn't use
scene.
it again.
He tosses them a scroll of paper and what's his name stabs him for reasons.
So
that's the
the map leads them to the Red Dragon cave where they know where the Red Dragon staff is.
Yeah.
So, but they realize after they get sucked into the map through magical bidets.
Can I take a side road here? Is Ridley a mage?
No, I assume he's a rogue with UMD, with Use Magic Device.
Okay.
So that's what I've always assumed.
Yeah, he just had a magic sword.
Remember, this is
or maybe he was
this
like
is
a
D&D
secret
3.
mage.
D&D 3 had
This is
UMD.
three. This is 3.
It had UMD. Yeah. So that's what he was, and that was his potential. And he's had potential as a mage. So he maybe had like a level of mage or I don't know, something like that. Or he had some type of actually it'd be more of a warlock. So he had clearly some type of warlock bloodline.
You want to throw Ridley some stats
Or
right
do you
now?
mean
I'll say
sorcerer?
everybody's level 5. I'll say Ridley is a 3rd level rogue, and then he takes 1 point or maybe 2 points in fighter, and then 1 final point in warlock.
Yeah, okay.
Or I would even say sorcerer.
Well,
think
the
sorcerer.
staff
Sorcerer.
He
dragon-
all of a sudden has powers.
Sorcerer. Yes, sorcerer's right.
Well, it
Right.
showed twice when he got the staff initially, and then when he was trying to, right before he destroyed it, it was trying to take him over.
Right.
To, like, convince him, like, to
Yeah.
let it, like, let the power through, and,
And he is a charismatic character that people tend to follow. So that would play well with the charismatic based sorcerer.
yeah.
Can I take another side road into Damodar?
Come on down to that side
four
road.
fighter.
He's pure fighter.
No, 4 fighter, 1 warlock.
I would say, is there a? Well, I say Magus because I'm thinking Pathfinder.
Because he has
classic.
his thing in his head, which might have act as a patron, which lets him fuck around with low level magic stuff.
Ooh, I like that.
I
that
didn't
take.
actually see him do magic though.
No,
he
but
just
he-
kind of
Damodar?
He used his
Ridley.
thing to Demodor used his thing to read somebody else's mind. I don't know if you want to.
And he created a portal.
Yeah,
And he also had a magical sword, so he could have been buffing his sword.
right. Well,
So no, I think you're right on that one.
so 4 fighter, 1 warlock.
Marina,
So
I think,
there's
is
not
all wizard. I think
there's
it's
not
all
enough
wizard.
fucking elves in this movie.
No,
There's not
I'm
enough
going through
fucking
this.
dwarves in
Marina's
movie.
all wizard.
Okay.
Right? Do we all agree?
Yeah. She needed a spell
Snails,
pouch.
I would say a rogue bard hybrid.
Yes.
No, Maria was a fucking commoner. She had no fucking class. Okay,
She
she
had
threw a couple scrolls up and was like, "Portal."
She cast a few spells. She cast lightning on Damodar, twice actually. or whatever. Like
Hocus
lightning.
pocus, she needs to fucking focus, my guy. She did nothing in this movie. There was times where she's standing there with her hands in her pockets. And we got Ridley going, get out of the way. I've got to do the thing again.
No,
Because Ridley does all of the shit in the movie.
Yeah.
She had 2 wardrobe changes and 3 hairstyle changes.
And she wore a blanket once.
Yeah.
True.
Yikes.
So all right, we've got all their levels.
Yeah, I'd say 5th level.
Yeah.
This is a little 5th level. Save the world.
5 to 8.
No,
Not a chance. Not a chance. Not a chance.
No. So
Because if it was level 5 to 8, Maria would have been doing something.
like
Anything.
the spell
Anything.
fly.
Yes.
Because I think at 7 you get 3rd level spells, which I think flies a 3rd level
this
spell.
is a whole kingdom, and this is the best they have.
This is the people we send. These are our heroes. This is our Vox Machina.
Here's the problem
4
with high.
fuck-ups.
Here's the problem with doing like the fantasy things with the high magic of D&D.
The Empire
especially
is not
back
setting
then,
their
they
best.
couldn't afford the budget of a real caster.
Do you know why? Because Wizards of the fucking Coast said, not today, Satan. And then they cut their budget in half.
Yeah.
So they had to go, you already bought the sword, right? You lost the receipt. We can't return it. Shit. Okay, well, he's going to have to do something with the sword a lot.
Yeah.
Instead of everyone else doing anything. That's why you have like 6 guards in every shot. There's only those 6 guards.
Yeah.
Because they only have that many armor.
and 1 beholder.
No, there was multiple beholders. They just copied and pasted them across the board. The other thing too, that's really quick, while they're running through the death maze, for some reason, I don't know if there was any stunt people in this crew because a lot of the main actors got hurt, like broken bones.
Did they really?
Yeah, because they cheaped out. And they just went, you can do this, right? And they were young enough. They go, yeah, we could do this. Cool. Okay, I'll do my own stunt.
Who did stunts? Only really the Ridley character did stunts.
Yeah, well, Ridley might have broken his arm.
He broke his arm once for each cast member.
Yeah, that's crazy. So they after they leave, they have their name plastered up for the murder of like a senior mage who gave them the scroll and said, "Go find the staff." Then they go to a bar. They find out they need the dragon's eye or whatever stone, and that's when
ruby
they
the
go to
size
the.
of
They
a
need the
fist.
dragon stones.
Yeah, the underneath stones. And that's when they decided they need to go to the Thieves Guild because they know that that's where the Dragonstone is at the end of the dude's maze.
Enter the legend himself, Richard O'Brien. Nintendo Geek, thoughts on seeing Richard O'Brien in another movie?
Well, like I said before, when you turned around, I was like, "Oh my god!" Like, of course he's in this. Like, who else would have been that character? He kind of reminds me of it, like Jeff Goldblum. Now could have played the same type.
Oh my god, yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
yeah,
yeah.
Kind
Yeah.
of like how he is in
Zany.
Thor.
Yep.
Yes.
Was
Yeah.
it the who's he in Thor? Game Master?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah. I thought that was really similar. It could have just been the hoop earrings or just a general like attitude.
He had more of a snake kind of guy. Like does not surprise anyone. That's the thing is, in no moment when he at the end when he goes through all the traps, when Xylus was like, "Hey, give me the stone. Give me the stone." Did I go, "Oh yeah, I didn't see that coming." Like
Right.
it wasn't a shock to me at all.
Well, you get the vibe where it's like, is he a pirate? Does he own brothels? Is he just a rogue?
Oh,
What
he
is
does.
His, what
He
is
sells
his
drugs.
He sells. No
Drugs.
He
Just
doesn't.
drugs.
He doesn't at all. He's too clean for that. He's too fucking.
No,
smooth.
he's got people way
Yes.
underneath him that
Yes.
does. No,
He has nothing.
he is the drug lord
He
that
just
has people
knows
selling-
somebody.
Yeah.
He's completely innocent. That man has never done a crime in his life.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm sure he has brothels under his name.
Right.
I'm sure he's got like mages
All
under
kinds of
his
stuff,
his
right.
pocket.
Why would I help you? I would lose my seat and power,
Yeah.
or I'd lose my bird, or whatever.
And I think he just sort of went, "Well, you think you can do the dungeon? Why not? Like,
Right.
I want people to get me this dragon eye."
Yeah.
So, what do we think of the traps? The first trap, I think, very much reminiscent of Indiana Jones.
Spike floor.
Yeah, there's only
okay,
the one
okay.
spike floor.
Hey, they had 45 million. Okay, that's it. 45 million. That's all they had. Okay, I didn't want to yell. 45. They made it work.
I thought it was neat with the axes. How he had to like climb up on them and like I can see how he got hurt.
Yeah.
The fire
100%.
room too.
The fire room was brutal. Like I said, when he first rolled into the fire room and he hit one of the blue or green eyes and it just started going, like you can think, I don't think he was prepared for that.
Well, I think we've all played that trap room in D&D.
Yeah. But he looked like freaked out in the corner being like, holy shit.
and then the wall starts moving, and the tiles start flipping over from red to whatever.
That was a cool. I'm sorry, but that was a cool trap.
Cool
that
dungeon.
was a really cool.
It.
Yeah.
I love it.
I don't know about you guys, but when I was watching it, and I was really invested when the wall started moving.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm like, oh
fuck.
shit.
It never rains.
It was a really good trap. Like the first one was interesting. It was very Indiana Jones. It was very easy. Like to me, it was very easy to solve the problem. There's enough gap underneath them. My first thought was just crawl.
Yeah,
like there seemed to be enough gap underneath between the floor and the actual axes themselves.
Like it's not complicated.
No, but then the next one, I still thought, why isn't there fire coming out of the ground and the ceiling? That would be. But the ceiling does make sense because it's open so people can watch. But like at least the ground makes sense,
right?
Or the back wall, and
that eye,
yeah,
right.
Yeah, I really like that trap. I first it's like, oh, this is a super simple trap, and then it adds the wall, and you're like, okay, this got complicated because now you're in a rush.
Tiles started flipping,
and then
over.
the fake out tiles started flipping. I'm like, wow, this is a really interesting map. Like if I played this,
it feels like a DM is after you.
Now,
Yeah.
is your DC just going higher, or how are your tiles flipping?
Well, it felt like the trap that
I don't know.
you played when we played Tomb of
Mechanically, you know what I
Annihilation.
mean?
I think it was with the animals on the floor,
yeah,
and we had to step on specific tiles to
Right.
like get through.
In a certain order.
yes. Yeah, it felt very cliche, and that which is fine.
Spoilers for Tomb of
That's
Annihilation.
okay. That's what you need, though.
Yeah.
'Cause guess what? The movie itself, unfortunately, wasn't for Dungeons and Dragons fans. It was for people to get into Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes, yeah.
And it was the generic fantasy of, hey, we're going to go do the caper.
Yeah,
We're going to go do the caper, and the caper's going to have us slide into, oh shit, we have to save the world now.
yeah.
Kind of
I
thing.
think I hated that trap. The first trap was cool because he did like agility DC checks to get out, which showed that he's a rogue.
Sure.
The second one I didn't like because he spent so much time figuring out the trap at the beginning and testing it. And I was like, oh, he's outsmarting the trap. But then at the end, it's just like, just run. Like he didn't get to use, it broke down to, why didn't you just run in the first place then?
I think
Yeah.
it's the standard thing on the player where if you look at the map and you do the math of it and you say, okay, fuck it. I would rather roll one acrobatics check for the jump
Sure.
than 3 more for the trap.
Sure, I get that. But it to me, in the movie,
Yeah.
it ruined the work he did to figure out the trap before.
Sure, but
and
the door was closing.
Yeah, I get that. But it still ruined the effect. Like, it ruined the idea of, well, you could have just done this from the first stage then.
No, not to overthink this, but if Xylus really wanted that ruby eye, he could have just opened the door and gone in with a work crew and took the thing apart.
I feel like it's magically protected. Right?
Magically protected.
Yeah.
Because that last trap, if that was that was an actual trap in a dungeon in game, I think that would have just taken forever to figure out. Oh, just smash the hourglass.
I do
think
like that.
Everyone would have tried to
I
figure out
think-
the mechanics and how to disassemble the.
I think it'd be
The door.
like it would been like an escape room where you have like 5 people and like somebody would have come up with it.
Yeah.
If it was just one person in the room, I don't think so.
Somebody definitely overthinking it.
Yeah.
Being like, how can I disassemble it, or how can I do like my thieves' tools, or
Or somebody would have. I just want to roll intelligence to figure it out.
Well, it's the room full of objects.
Yeah.
There's 60 objects in the room, and we can't figure out how to turn the lights on.
Yeah.
Well,
Did
in this
anyone
one,
think to just touch the light switch?
yeah.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
Because
absolutely.
there's 60 objects in the room, and this is clearly the thing that we're supposed to be interacting with.
But in
when
this
realistically,
instance-
the answer is right on the wall.
Yes.
It's the simplest answer that we're overthinking.
in this instance, there were really 2 things. There was the complicated machine, and there was the hourglass.
But-
and then the roof that was
You had the
falling,
roof coming down, right?
which adds pressure.
Which I think he could have just stood straight up.
Yeah, there was
Yeah.
enough gap in those.
He was pretty skinny.
It's certain death.
He could have
Certain death. The last I checked, it was certain death.
I do. So after like the door opens, he passes that one, and there's the moment, like the Indiana Jones moment, where I thought there was going to be another trap.
Oh, yeah,
Where
absolutely.
he had to do the
Right.
whole weight thing,
And just
Anything.
picked it up.
and he kind of plays with the sand on the thing. Like, oh, he's checking out a trap. He's doing the rogue thing.
Check for traps.
Not only that,
Always check
Or
for
is he
traps.
detecting
soon
magic?
as he fucking touches the gem, boom, visions of like the city or fire or
Yeah.
Or
like,
it was-
oh
it was-
no, no
Or it was
one's
a fake gem the whole
no,
time.
well, not only that, but no one's touched this magic item in years,
Yeah.
15 years or something.
It'd be longer than that, I think.
Right.
I assume that the dungeon's been there since the last Great
since
War.
the last Great War. So he would have touched it, and it would have been the first MacGuffin of the warning.
Yeah.
Where it is, or it's the I think I know where the staff is.
Yes.
Or
At
maybe
least-
maybe a warning from that skeleton mage we meet later.
Or even just a vision of the door
Yeah.
missing the eye. I don't know where it is, but I know what to do with this.
Yes. Yeah.
And then when he slides down the tunnel and he finds it, everything, and he's got the David MacGuffin key.
Yep.
Okay, this is the vision I've had. This is the next step.
He's got to put it add it to the other scrote.
The other, the other spot.
Dragon.
It doesn't go in his nose.
He's got both eyes. What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, what the hell?
I love that in the next scene when you get Damodar slowly over the course of the movie, because Damodar reintroduces
Just
himself in the
hunting himself.
themes. He's hunting them. Over the course of the movie, I'm sure other people noticed it.
Yep.
The worm
Redder and
parasites
redder.
got redder and redder, and his veins got redder and redder as like the parasite was fucking with him more and more and more
Right.
throughout the movie. I thought that was great.
Oh yeah.
Visually horrifying.
Yeah.
Body horror is always just gross. We've seen that even with the gentleman getting his eyes stitched shut in Pathfinder.
Yeah.
Body horror is awful. Damodar, the time is ticking, and he's got to get that. He's got to get these kids. He's got to get these meddling kids and that damn dog. He's got to get that red rock. He's got to get the staff back to Daddy Irons, and then fucking get the creature out of his head.
Yes.
He's got his own problems.
He's got his own problems.
Yeah.
And the fact that Damodar comes back as the villain in the next film, I'm stoked.
Oh yeah, we're gonna watch that.
I'm stoked.
We're
to
gonna
see
watch it.
I think they're on iTunes or something. We'll find them.
Oh,
but
I'm
I
sure
think-
we'll find it.
Yeah.
Actually, I know
Wait,
someone
you
who has
haven't
the
seen
DVD.
Dungeons
No.
and Dragons the second one?
Just Rob has the DVD.
Does he? Oh,
Yeah.
Jesus.
So yeah, that's when they capture the mage friend, Marina, sorry.
Melina.
And
Kombat.
I'm thinking Elden Ring.
Oh, yeah.
No maidens.
Yeah.
Oh, dang.
And that's when they have to go face Damodar in a fortress that looks like it's older than time immemorial.
Yeah.
It's ruins in every sense of the word, except when you get to the dungeon.
Yes,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
weird. But he's got that great scene that you were talking about, Amanda, where he comes in interrogating her.
Oh, the whispers.
He walks in and he commands the room.
Are we going to do that right now? Go ahead, you guys go. I want to set the room. You guys are deep in a dungeon. It all looks like styrofoam.
Fuck you. And then
He beats the shit out of her.
he like mind sucks her, and it's like, oh, this is so not okay.
I do not consent to mind probing.
No.
Yeah.
No, it was not good. It was not good.
I mean, the next scene we see her, she is not doing well.
Oh no, and he's like, we gotta go, and she's like, oh my god, I'm so traumatized, but oh my
don't
god,
worry.
thank God you're here.
But don't worry, she's fine in the next scene.
Oh yeah, she's fine.
She does a costume change and we're all good.
Is that where we get the kissing? Or is that after? That's in the Elf City.
That's in the Elf City, yeah. That's after.
That is after. Oh, my God.
Yeah, because this is where Marlon
Lothlorien.
Snails steps on, I think, both the coolest and weirdest trap ever.
I love that.
I love it.
Oh,
I love that. I'm a little disappointed it wasn't a CG rug.
Oh, the oatmeal rug.
the oatmeal
The
rug.
oatmeal rug was great. That looked soothing, if anything.
I'm
Yeah.
wondering at the prop department if it was CG or if they painstakingly
No,
dusted
I
the
think-
pattern over top. of
think
it.
I
I think
okay.
they printed something like plastic
You know, like
over
or
it, and then
rice
they peel it
paper
off.
or
Okay,
Rice paper.
here's
Yeah.
here's
Because
what
it
I
was
think.
really cool.
I think they had a rug, and then I think they had like oatmeal rice paper that they did a general rug design on. Because when you actually see it, where
General
he
rug.
sunk into general rug, when he sunk into it, you don't actually. If you look at the edges, it's all pretty roughed up. Mm-hmm. Like once he's in it.
Yeah, and this was a one-take thing. They were like, you don't get a second take
You
on
have to
this.
just fall
Much like
into the ball.
the
So I don't think it had to be
Never-ending
perfect. I just
story.
think it had to be good enough.
Yeah.
rest in peace that horse.
Not Atreyu. Artrax?
Yeah, like the horse
Artrax.
died
Atrax?
in the quicksand in that take, like where he's sinking.
What?
Yeah, the horse died.
horse
Adam,
dies.
have you ever seen Neverending Story?
But he comes
No.
back.
Oh,
Adam,
Have you never seen
friends,
and
I need
Neverending
you all
Story?
to just can it for a minute. We're not going to do the bit. We're going to add Neverending Story to the list, though. Because you've
seen it in
never
years.
seen Neverending Story.
No, I haven't.
Oh boy, do we gotta get you on a good rainy day when you want to feel depressed.
Oh no.
Oh,
Well, now
fucking
you
right.
know.
The horse's name is Artax.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, for those of you who know, you know.
And those of you who don't,
We're going to keep that to ourselves. We're sorry we're spoiled. Maybe another movie. But anyway, back to Dungeons and Dragons.
It's been out for
he
like
fucks
30
up that
years.
carpet. And that's a great trap.
Yeah,
he
it was.
falls in a big old milky pool of yogurt. No, oatmeal.
But like,
and
imagine
it's
having
even
that,
worse.
Looks
Imagine
like
having that as a
oatmeal.
DM. Like you have, I'm just going to spitball here, but like you have a rug and you can't walk on this rug or it's going to quicksand unless you have like a special ring or something like that.
Yeah.
Also, he
Or
left.
just don't.
Yeah,
Or don't.
Or don't. Don't sit on the
Don't
rug.
walk on the rug.
And he left, and it's the classic, like, was someone here? Oh, the rug's fucked up.
Yeah.
And there's milky oatmeal footprints.
you also
down
made-
the hall.
You made the observation that it was a hammock under a 4-post canopy bed with a hookah.
What? What a
like-
weird guy.
He's a villain,
Yeah.
but it doesn't mean he can't chill
And
out.
this is
okay.
This is the
Chilling like a
basement
villain.
of
he
a
can't
ruin.
chill like a villain.
But this is Damodar, who's been serious this whole time.
You all think
and then
he
there's a
whispers.
4-post hammock.
You
With
all
a
think he's
hookah.
whispering. It's just throat cancer because he's huffing. He's huffing on that fucking hookah every night.
I can't actually speak any louder than this.
I'm upset because my back hurts from a hammock.
Right.
I need the 4-post canopy because the mosquitoes bother me so much at night.
See, we're making jokes, but this is literally the quality and level of quality of jokes in this film. Because when Snails walks in the room before he falls on the oatmeal bath, he literally walks up to the armor of Damodar and goes, "I'm Damodar," and then just kind of shakes his ass and then laughs
Yeah.
and then walks by. Like that is it, folks. That's the
we are-
ceiling of humor in this
We are
movie.
all snails right now.
Right. Oh, good lord. So they fight.
Yeah.
They lose. Beholders are circling through the whole place. They only fight guards. Damodar does some big old Damodar damage and kills Snails.
Yeah.
He steps on Snails.
I do love the scene where they all catch to each other, and Damodar's got Snails at the throat, and the reason he kills him is because Snails throws the scroll that he had just stolen from Damodar's pimp room,
Lightly
Like
tosses.
a wet paper towel.
like a meter, which is nothing.
No,
Yeah,
what
here.
happened? He does this. He goes for it, and then Ridley's like, "Snails, don't do it!" And it's like, you idiot. The guy didn't notice what he was doing.
But I love how he tosses it like a meter, and then he kills Snails for it.
Yeah.
And instead of Ridley rushing to get the scroll that his friend just sacrificed for, he does the con.
She runs for dirt, somehow uses the dirt as a spell component, thanks to her pouch.
She had her pouch back.
No, she got a pouch back
Oh, I
from
thought she
Snails.
used the dirt.
Snails got the when he was in Damodar's room, got a spell component pouch.
Oh, okay,
And he,
okay.
I guess, due to the fight with Damodar, it fell on the floor, and she went and grabbed the spell
Oh,
component pouch. so
and
they
then
could
immediately
teleport out.
portaled out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hookah powder.
Hookah powder.
Yeah.
But
He got a
didn't
big
grab
old bag
the
of hookah
scroll,
powder.
which Snails sacrificed
Well,
themselves
we
to
assume
toss.
that they have it because they found the door, but we never actually see them grab the scroll.
Yeah, that's
Which
yeah.
completely ruins his entire
because
sacrifice.
Unless
None
they
of
did, 'cause
them could
unless we
close
missed
a
it.
fucking door. Whether they're all
Yeah.
they're mages, but they're raised in a fucking barn because they can't close a portal behind them.
Yeah, I do love that.
That's happened, like-
Teleportation spells
That's
let other
happened
people through.
2-3 times in the movie
Yeah.
where like, they just follow.
Yeah.
We have to run. Okay, cool.
But like minutes later.
Should we close
Yeah.
that? No, we're good. We gotta run.
There's wormholes around the city.
People are tripping in. A lot of kids are going missing because wormholes just opening up all over the city. Fucking mage school.
They can't be bothered to walk 20 minutes.
Swallowing up kids and dwarves. It's awful.
So yeah, immediately they are found in a giant, cool wood elf forest. Although I am really upset that
Is it Tom or Richard Baker?
Tom Baker.
Tom Baker.
Tom Baker.
That was
thinking of the author.
Which doctor was he? 8?
I
don't know.
One moment.
Fourth.
He was the
He was an early one.
he was an early one, but
Fifth.
wasn't Tom Baker the one with the
Yeah,
huge
it was-
scarf?
Definitely
He
wasn't
had
8.
the
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. He was pulling weed and gummy bears out of his coat.
Yes, yeah, he
And
was
he
that
had
guy.
no, not this. He wasn't the one with the celery lapel.
I don't know.
No.
But Norda really upsets me that she's clearly a part of a wood elf tribe or
Community.
group or whatever,
4th doctor.
and yet she wears metal. That is not cool.
You don't know
Her
that metal
armor,
shit
though, was
could be
really
ironwood.
nicely done. I know it was only the front, like it didn't go all the way around, but like it was well sculpted. Like
Yeah.
you said, she had abs and a belly button.
Like you said, it was sculpted. Like it was sculpted to the female form.
Like they cast her.
it had
Yeah.
it had a belly button.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool. All I can think about is good for her because that means she didn't have to work out for a million years and dehydrate herself just for a scene because the armor did it for her.
Adam, baby, it's
Shout out
2000.
Shout
Nobody's
out
doing
to
that.
shout out to
Nobody's
Henry
doing that.
Cavill in that one scene.
Yeah, they still do that. There's a reason why I didn't show him shirtless in the second season. He was like, screw that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Listen, I'll get back on my shoebox here and stand for a brief minute. The elf and the dwarf do nothing in this movie.
Nothing.
No, the
Nothing.
dwarf insults the
Okay,
elf,
the
and then
elf-
they're
the
like,
dwarf-
rah, rah.
Can you scroll up for a second? The dwarf puts Damodar on his ass in like the first 3 seconds of the dwarf meeting Damodar.
Yeah.
That's it.
But
Okay.
That's
and then
where it
there's that
ends.
scene where the elf goes to the dwarf and they say, I never thought I'd fight next to an elf. And the
then-
dwarf goes, I'd never fight next to an elf. And, then that's the scene.
And then the elf goes, but what about a friend?
No, that's not the scene.
No, no,
You're
I'm-
thinking of another
no, no,
movie.
and then-
It's what about an elf?
you're missing the scene where the dwarf goes to the elf and says, "You have to toss me," and the elf is like, "I'm going to HR."
Yeah, stop asking me to toss you.
No, 'cause
Please.
He asks not to tell
Elwood, not again.
because he asks Aragorn to toss him.
I don't know what movie you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about.
I've never seen a movie in my life.
I do. Yeah, the as far as I can tell, the elf does get them from point A to point B because she's a ranger and a tracker. So she does that, but it's all skill checks off screen.
My guy, they're doing nothing but going from map to map.
They
what
only-
point is the
This
elf?
is D&D. You take off the map and you put down a new map.
There are
Right.
plenty of
So
skills
why do we
that
have an
help you
elf?
with maps.
They need her to bring Ridley to get healed.
Ooh.
That's
I
the
just
only
realized
reason they
something.
So
went.
is the elf a cleric?
No, she brings
Tom
him to
Baker
their
Tom
went.
Baker
Well, I
is a
mean,
cleric.
Snail
Or is
was
he a
wishing for
druid?
that at least.
He might have been a druid.
Maybe a multi-class.
I'd
Maybe.
say he's a druid.
I'd
He
say
did
druid.
lay
We'll say-
on.
well, he's Tom
lay on
Baker, so maybe
hands,
level 8.
or
Yeah.
healing touch.
Lay a hand.
Lay on hands.
Lay
Yeah,
on
he
hands,
laid on hands.
No, Leon Hans is a paladin. He would have just cast Cure.
Cure light wounds,
Yeah.
cure moderate wounds.
Yeah, whatever version of that you choose.
He didn't need to touch him, but he did.
Well, no, Cure is a touch.
Cure disease,
Cure's
lift
a
I'll
curse.
take a healing word.
Oh, yeah. Healing Word's the higher level one. No, I think, oh my God, where was I?
Yeah, I know. That's where I was thinking.
I had something to say on this one.
Elves.
Elf
And how
off-screen
you
skill
hate
checks.
elves.
No, she brings people to the forest to get the heal. That's all.
It's a cool shot. The
Right.
big tree city.
Sure, but I don't
Not
really.
Lothlorien.
It had no value whatsoever. Like if they had just had, you're right. If they had just had Marina or whatever, no, Marina.
If you're looking for value.
Maria.
that's
Norda,
my
no
guy.
Norda. If they just had Norda be part druid,
Right.
and she could have slightly healed him along the way, they
then-
could have skipped an entire scene.
But then how would you get Tom Baker in the movie?
Yeah, true.
We already paid for Tom. He's on a flight.
Maybe
to-
save the money and put more Profian in there.
Also, Marina would have gotten her her outfit change.
And Ridley and Marina wouldn't have kissed, so...
Oh yeah, that
was a
that was
force.
an abusive relationship.
Jesus.
Oh,
I
no.
fucking hate you, mages.
No.
I love you.
Oh wait, no, you're pretty smart for a mage.
Oh, yeah.
The whole time, me and Geek Movie House were like, "Don't do it."
Yeah, I know.
Don't
we all
do
were.
it.
We're like,
Please,
no, no, no,
please
no, no.
Don't.
Yeah, Amanda, you're pretty smart for a girl. Oh, that's hurtful.
God.
Oh,
Well,
It's
no,
like-
because like
that's so mean.
to sound crazy all of a sudden here, guys, but like I know this is unheard of. What if they just really existed as just like a good group of friends on a quest, and we didn't have any of the bullshits, like really awkward, really forced, like sexual tension?
Yeah.
I'm
What is
cool
this?
with the hey, she's going up a ladder, and there's the quick quirky line of like, hey, no peeking.
Yeah.
Or some bullshit of like they're all checking each other out because they all want to sleep with each other, or it's that none of them want to sleep with each other.
Yeah.
There's
There's no
none
middle
of them
ground.
want to sleep with
They
each
already
other.
have. They've
Cool.
already broken up,
Right.
gone their separate ways, and come back as a group again.
Right. And
now they're
like,
done.
What is this, Moana?
Well, I'm sorry. I'm just saying.
No, I think suddenly, even though Snail sacrifices himself for the map, they never touch the map, yet they still find the dragon
Hey,
shrine.
we need this. It's important. For what? Oh, I don't know. Never mind.
Yeah. Oh,
We need to go through. Oh, only Ridley is able to go through.
Hi, welcome to Dungeons and Dragons,
He's
an interactive
the
role-playing game
chosen
with
one.
4 of your friends By the way, Ridley, you're the chosen one. You're the only one who can do...
You're 3 levels ahead of everybody.
Anything.
And you're my favorite.
I loved your joke. We're like, Dana, you're paying a little too much attention to your boyfriend here.
Right. Like, fuck, man. Ridley is when the DM creates their own player character and then just kind of starts jacking off in front of everyone. Like,
Yes.
for God's sakes. Hey, I know you guys worked really hard on your characters and your backstory, but this is Dave. He's now the ranger. He's going to lead you through the dungeon.
We've played
Dave's going
a
to go
game like
first.
that.
Oh, wait.
God.
Dave ruled the highest initiative. Oh, man. Isn't it cool? Dave did 200 points of damage. What do you mean Dave did 200 points of damage? We're like level 2. Yeah, Dave did 200 points of damage. He kills the monster in 1 hit. Moving on to the next room. Oh, Dave already checked for traps, so you're good. Thanks, Ridley. Ridley.
Yeah.
Yeesh, this movie.
I absolutely hated that this is a D&D party with one person.
Right.
Like, oh.
Yeah, it's like, no,
it
only
was the same
he
guy
can
doing
go
all
in.
the checks.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's your destiny to be in there. Fuck you. Plus, okay, am I the only one that thinks that none of this was needed?
Yeah.
Because if they had just never gone on their journey, because he's the only one destined to be in there, no one would have gotten the red staff.
So if they didn't
would've been
get
no
into
conflict.
politics.
Oh, we're talking about the Indiana Jones Ark of the Covenant
Yes.
kind of situation?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there would have been conflict between the Empress and the Mage Council, but I think it
Sounds like the Empress would have won, though.
Yeah, and our friends would have been rich.
Because the Empress was winning, so he went into the dungeon to go get the staff. And I do love the evil wizard strung up as a skeleton.
Yes.
And he is
Oh, he was
damned
great.
to live until he hands it off to someone good. Because I got the feeling he was an evil wizard back in his heyday, built this red staff to control evil dragons. And as punishment, he was basically, well, you have to stay alive until you do a good deed, which is give it to someone who it's worthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I really like that he's going, hey, I'm telling you, this is going to corrupt you as a person. I tried.
You don't want this.
You don't want my
question-
curse.
His
it,
caveat was, I need to give this to somebody who's worthy. It's like, are you worthy? And his response was, nobody's worthy.
Yeah.
Kind of, maybe. I don't know. It depends what I feel about it.
Yeah, I really liked to me, that villain hanging up as a skeleton had, in my mind, had this cool backstory that I want to watch. I don't want to watch any of this.
You already put it in. The environmental storytelling was enough.
That was,
Yeah.
that
You
was
walked
a
in
great,
and went, oh shit has hit the fan already. Oh no.
that
This
mage
is
was
not
he was a great empty vase that you could fill yourself.
Yeah.
Well, it's a gold room that I really feel like they could have lit even worse, where it's just like quiet and empty, and maybe pump a little fog in here.
Yeah.
Right, and just get like, ooh, this is creepy, and then the classic like jump scare. Oh fuck, he comes alive.
It was a bit of
not
a jump
puppet
scare
being
because
like,
you
you
thought he
don't
was
want
dead.
my stick, and it's like, yes I do. No, you don't, and it's like, oh fuck.
I will not give you my staff, you boob!
I'm shaking my
Curse
arm
you,
like I'm
man.
holding a puppet on my arm right now and just yelling. But yeah, it's cool though.
I thought
It's
that was
cool.
the best part of
The
this
staff
entire
looked
movie.
plastic as hell.
Oh, yeah.
It looked like a dollar store toy.
yeah, a little dark wash, maybe anything. It's a Sailor Moon prop.
Yeah, they basically painted it and then put on a sealer.
And they painted it. They taped on some spikes.
Nintendo Geek, you got some lore to jump on us?
Well, no, because the staffs we're talking about aren't like
size-wise.
6-foot staffs that are powerful.
it's a
They're
wand.
literally
It's
like
a baton.
a foot and a half.
No,
Maybe 2 feet?
No, they're
It
probably
was
3
not
feet.
that big.
They're
It
like
was
3
not.
was this
No,
big.
no,
It's
it
a
wasn't.
Yeah, it was.
No, it was
He would
not.
hold
It's a
it,
baton.
and it was here to here.
It was not that big. It
Yeah.
was no
3
smaller.
feet.
Your
They
arm
They would
is-
hold it here, but it was like 3 feet.
But when
It
I-
was not. It was
might,
not
no,
3 feet.
It
Dude.
might be 3 feet if you count the spikes.
Yeah.
Maybe.
They were pretty like also the Empress is like a teenager. So like it looked big when she was holding it, but like
Heyo.
it was literally like this big.
Yeah.
Just her like height wise, right?
I felt like they were always holding those staffs weird. Like there was something wrong with the way they were holding
It
them.
looks like there's a handle and they were not holding it by
I'm
the
not going
handle.
to touch any of this with a fucking 10-foot actual staff. So you guys make as many jokes as you want about that one.
No, I'm serious. Like they have this staff with like these weird like handles, like almost like you would have swords, like the
Like a-
arm guards, the
like a-
knuckle guards.
Yeah, a guard of some kind.
And they were never holding it the way you would hold a sword.
It looks like a keyblade without the key.
Holy shit, yes. Yes, it does.
if you were to buy a Sailor Moon toy from Japan
And then
knock out the Sailor Moon part and
tape
just
on some
put a
spikes.
plastic crystal in the middle of it and glue some spikes to it.
Yeah, I do love your comment when we were watching the movie. It was like, well, that's a Power Rangers MacGuffin if I've
It
ever
is a
seen
Power
one.
Rangers MacGuffin, man. It's gonna like call forth a Zord.
I'm shocked that
Shocked.
Profian did not turn into a dragon.
Yeah, that
I'm
would've been
shocked.
Okay.
Profi
If he
didn't
was
turn into
actually a red dragon in disguise.
right.
Just his teeth and the way he was like.
Something was happening. His because he's a warlock in this film,
No,
I believe.
I
so
wish-
he gets the staff, and all of a sudden, like it corrupts him.
I wish there was a
and he
reason.
changes.
Yeah.
I wish there was a reason, and we got to know the reason why he had blue lips. Because otherwise, he's just a guy who puts on blue lips.
You clearly missed the plot of the film. It's called Corruption in the Government. I'll turn your lips blue. So moving
That was
on.
Damodar got blue lips only.
oh, sorry, Damodar. My bad.
Yeah.
Damodar.
You said they couldn't get the props, so they might have not had his full costume, so they had to improvise.
I think Jeremy Irons just said no.
No, I mean,
Hey, we're
Bruce
gonna
Wayne,
put you in prosthetics. No.
how Damodar had blue lips.
Oh,
Maybe.
Yeah.
I know. So it was just weird that she decides to go. The Empress is like, "Well, you're not listening to me, and you're afraid of me because I could always send dragons after you." And they're like, "Yes, that's exactly why we want to take the staff away from you." She goes, "Okay, I'm going to send dragons after
I'm
you."
also a little girl, and you probably have sent assassins after me, but I can't technically pin it on you because you're the government.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, technically,
You're
they're both the
Mageocracy,
government.
and if I do that, I go to war with you, which is what I'm trying to avoid in the first place.
So
And
let's
everybody
skip
loves
to the
a civil
end
war.
and go to war.
Yeah, and then I do love that the heroes, after all this, you're like, if you had just not gotten the red staff, Profian probably, it would have been a close battle, but Profian looks like he was on the losing foot until the bad guys trap him and take the red staff from him.
So yeah, if Ridley and Snails at the beginning of the movie, and Ridley said, "Let's go steal from the magic school," Snails says no, and Ridley was like, "You're right." Nothing would have happened.
I want to go drinking
No.
instead. Oh, well,
Empress would have won. Would have had like the same ending.
Well,
Yeah.
the Empress herself literally goes, Profian, war benefits no one, but I'll go to war with you.
Yeah.
Like, don't think I won't back down. And then there's like that eye contact where they're like, ooh, Profian probably knew her father or something, or she wasn't always the Empress. And
Yeah.
like, what happened here? But we didn't get any of that.
No, there's so much more story that could have been told, but yeah, it's sad to see that it is so close to D&D after all the fighting and the fighting with the +1 swords, because that's all they've got.
That's what I was going to say earlier, was how you're saying, like, oh, how did these two thieves, a dwarf and an elf ranger, defeat the bad guy? And it's also like...
And a mage.
And a mage.
Well, the mage was there. She wasn't actually doing much, but...
But,
Well, she did more. She did more than the ranger.
but how many 4 or 5 people parties have you started D&D with where that's exactly what you're with? And somehow these like blumbering characters kind of grow and learn and go through all these hardships and then end up being like the saviors of the realm.
Yeah.
So in a way, it's pretty accurate to an actual like D&D.
That's why it's so good. Is to me, it reminds me of so many of my parties where the way we talk about it is we call it failing upwards, where you're a bunch of bumbling idiots, because that's how dice works. You build your character like, my character is really smart, but what ends up happening is you roll, and throughout a campaign you roll enough ones that you become a fucking joke. And then you still are the hero of the realm.
I like that concept of like where the you have your stat sheet, but like your stats aren't you. Your dice rolls are you. Like
Yeah.
say if you have a high athletics, but you keep rolling shit for your athletics skill, your character's bad at athletics.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
Well, the argument too, though, a lot of what things we take away is getting the workaround, especially from DMing. You're playing with wizards or characters with 20s.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm sorry. No offense, everyone. You're not a level 20 intelligence person.
Yeah.
But your character is. And the workaround of you're not in the room where your character is that your DM is describing.
Yeah.
And not everyone is listening or paying attention or even thinking of the same things that the DM is describing.
Yes.
So the show don't tell has been such an important aspect of the game that has needed to be improved upon for everybody across the board.
Yeah.
Because your level 20 wizard would have figured it out.
Yep.
But your player who has a job and
Who's a
other shit
level
going
1
on
human
and going,
with an 8
half
intelligence.
drunk.
I don't know.
Half drunk, has got
drunk
fingers in
I
Cheetos.
don't know. And you kind of have to really not over explain it, but just kind of be like, You get it. You get it.
You
Roll
have to hit
advantage
them with
because
the
you
hammer.
definitely would get it. You have to show and not tell kind
Yeah.
of thing.
Well,
So-
then you run into the opposite problem too, where you have like a really smart player who's playing a really dumb character, and then
yeah.
they have to dumb it down, and they just seem like the asshole in the room.
That's-
Like, can you just do the check? Oh, I don't know what a check is. No, I know what the check is.
There's
My
a
guy's
difference
an
between
idiot.
there's a difference between the role play and the that, though.
Yeah.
You got to find that balance.
Well,
So
I
the
think-
guy finishes him off, and they Prothean gets eaten because Princess what's her face comes from nowhere.
Princess Savina, Empress
Savina.
Savina.
Empress.
She comes out of nowhere. I assume a dragon dropped her off, but they didn't show. I would love to have seen a cool scene where like a dragon dips his head onto the platform and he's kind of like hovering
or
there.
she does
Stands
a
up
drive-by step
She's
off the
just
platform.
there.
Yeah, she's just there. Like they done her dirty in that scene. She could have had such a cool entrance, and they fucked that up. But apparently, this sorcerer, warlock. Sorry, this warlock Prothean is obsessed with his staff, and then in the middle of fighting, he's just like, "I don't need the staff. I'm not." Like he just drops it
I'm
at some point.
powerful enough without the staff. I'll kill you,
He
boy.
gets too cocky because
Yeah.
Ridley's like on the ground, like unconscious or like just knocked out or
After he has a duel with Damodar.
yeah.
Yeah, and
so
I
he's
guess-
like weakened enough where he's like he gets really cocky, like oh I can take this like
And he also assumed no one else in that area could use the staff, was powerful enough to use the staff. Until Mr. White Savior shows up, is like, I could use the staff out of nowhere.
Because he's got a level and use magical device.
yeah, exactly.
but he ends up destroying it.
Yeah, he ends up destroying it because it corrupts you, and even though it didn't really seem to corrupt Prothean because he was already evil, but he just ends up destroying it. And as far as I can tell, in the lore of D&D, red dragons are evil, gold are good, right?
Right. Last I checked.
Chromatic
Last I
and
checked.
metallics.
Yeah. So the red dragons are like, peace out, I'm done the war. Like I'm done being mind controlled. In my immediate thought was, great, you just destroyed the thing that controls red dragons.
You didn't send them back.
You didn't send them back.
You didn't lock them away.
You just freed a bunch of red evil dragons that
Right.
were winning the war against the gold dragons.
winning.
Winning in a mass city. You fucking idiot.
Yeah. Yeah.
They just kind of went away.
They just kind of went away.
well,
they just
no,
sort of pieced out.
CGI. Bye.
Yeah. They just sort of held up the peace sign and were like, bye.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was kind of a shitty ending. I do love your joke where they give Snails, like, I'm rich now. I'm the savior of the world. And I had a dragon horde, right? Because he has access to the red dragon horde. And he goes, but I'm only can afford 5 stones of sizable difference.
With an etching, like they went in with a stone and carved.
Yeah, they didn't.
snails.
Snail
Snails.
sacrifices himself.
And they stack 4 rocks
The Empress,
on top of each
you're
other.
going to assume they've at least talked to the Empress at some point during that, like, hey, it's weird that we're on top of a tower and we just killed the bad guy and saved the day, right?
Yeah.
You're going to make us rich, right?
We're all nobles, right?
We all, because no, he's there to be like, geez, Snails, I didn't know we'd get this far. I thought we were just going to rob the wizard school and, and now I'm a knight and, geez,
I'm a
all I
little
have is
late.
these rocks in your name. I
Aw, shucks,
spelled
Rick.
wrong.
By the way,
Carved
I'm
into it.
late for my meddling ceremony.
Yeah, I think you did a good job. There's Snails is sitting in heaven or in one of the planes of future existence going, mother fucker.
Well, no, because then all of a sudden they don't build him a statue. They don't do anything like that. We just get
Okay, let's
the
talk about
wood
the
elf,
ending.
the wood elf ranger going, elves are magic.
No, he puts a stone on the grave.
The Dragonite.
The
puts
dragon
Dragonite.
eye
puts
that he
the
got back
ruby.
for reasons.
Sure, he went back,
Red
pulled it
ruby,
out.
Sure, why not? Why
pulls
not?
it out, puts it on, so the door is locked, so he still has the key, because you know what? He wasn't raised in a barn, and he's a commoner, and he'll shut a door.
Does he turn the lights off too when he leaves?
Oh, Lordy, you better believe.
They don't
Caleb.
have to. Everywhere they went with a torch was fully fucking lit.
Right.
This was also the scene with the voiceover being like, everyone is free and everyone is equal. And it was just like kind of throw off line.
It's like but like that's not how it works. You can't just declare it. You can't just declare bankruptcy.
Yeah. And then the snail's soul
Snails,
maybe goes to the eye, and they're like, "Oh my god, don't question miracles."
And then
Bitch,
they
I'm questioning what happened.
all get sucked
Your
into the
friend
eye.
is waiting out there.
For you. And then they all get sucked in the eye, and then they become energy, and they
become
float away.
stars.
Yeah.
See, when that was happening, I thought it was taking like a little bit of life force out of all of them, and that snails would just appear. Like, oh, he's just on the other side of that. Like,
Yeah, I thought
No,
so too.
but here's
Of
the
the
thing:
tree.
like, we're all familiar with a little bit of D&D lore. Where the fuck were they going?
I have no idea.
to the next movie.
No, but that's fine, I guess. But is it? Do they go to the next movie?
No, they don't. No, they absolutely
I
don't.
have no idea. Like, yeah, like that's not how resurrection works. That's not how revivify works.
Yeah.
So I've got to ask, now that we're at the podcast, within the podcast,
Thank you, Adam.
who had the best eyebrows?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Podcast Within a Podcast. We're going to rip, rock, and bridge those brows. Who has the best eyebrows in the Dungeons and Dragons movie?
Jeremy Irons.
Jeremy Irons.
Those things were entire forests.
No, man. The Empress had you could floss with her eyebrows. They were so thin.
Yeah, hers was a G-string. His was a forest.
His was a forest.
What about Elwood?
I was going to say, can you throw in the dwarf?
The dwarf.
He had some pretty nice
the dwarf.
thick eyebrows.
The problem is the dwarf was covered in mud
And chicken.
and chicken for 95% of
Wait,
this movie.
did Three Eyes have an eyebrow
He did
above his
not.
third
He
eye?
did
I don't think he did.
His name actually
As-
is Three Eyes.
As we discussed in the last episode, 3 eyebrows is better than 2. So,
Oh, someone just put googly eyes on a beholder.
I love it. I
So
fucking love it.
what I will say is,
Maybe try spelling Three Eyes.
whatever.
Like
I will
but,
say,
yeah.
the Beholder from Dungeons and Dragons has the best eyebrows.
Ah, clever.
most-
there's a
Wow.
joke in there about somebody in a librarian because eyebrows.
Oh God.
I don't
So,
Come back to me.
The
I can do
dwarf.
better.
Where are we thinking? You're thinking Jeremy Irons?
Actually, I do change my mind to the dwarf.
The dwarf itself.
I think,
All right.
I think we're all voting on the dwarf. Sounds like it.
Sounds like we're going around the room for the dwarf. Nathan.
I'm checking out 3 eyes.
All right, never mind. Adam, thank you for sitting and watching Dungeons & Dragons with us. Thank you for sourcing it and getting it on the old boob tube for us. What would you rate it? Did you love it? Did you hate it?
There are no images of it.
Ooh. So in my rating system, I would definitely put this one at a good solid 3.5.
Solid 3.5.
Yeah.
With a nostalgia factor in there.
Yeah, it's better than I remember it,
It
because
was.
I have that now. Oh, that kind of reminds me of my party, and it gives me that fun.
yeah, we
Yeah.
did that.
Yeah, but that doesn't make it a good movie. It doesn't
fair.
make it that great.
And it may make our sessions worse.
Yeah, but I still had fun with you guys watching it as
Yeah.
a bunch of D&D nerds
Yeah.
going, that's us!
Oh, yeah. they said, well, I mean, hell, we pointed at the screen a couple times. Or no, that was Pathfinder.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
was Pathfinder. We pointed at the screen. There was the classic meme where Leonardo DiCaprio is sitting on the chair and they're like, they said the name of the movie.
Yeah.
We had that a couple times with Pathfinder. It was fantastic. Nintendo Geek, what did you think of Dungeons and Dragons? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it?
Wow. I liked it. I liked it as not a rendition of what D&D is, but also, like you said, it's a very different version of D&D that was out at the time.
Third edition.
More nitty gritty.
Sacred.
Sacred, yep. Like you said, there was a lot of drops of actual D&D spells and monsters. They could have did a bit more monsters. I get it, budget, all that. I liked it. I would watch it again. I would probably give it like a solid 5.5.
Wow.
Wow, you really liked it. This is her first viewing too, though. You got to remember, Adam, you've seen this at least 10 times.
Yeah.
This is the Sunday afternoon movie for us.
It was a pretty solid movie. It was easy to. They didn't jump around. It wasn't super confusing. It was entertaining. The cast was great. It just sucks that they didn't give some character. The only reason I'm giving it such a kind of a mediocre is that they could have did more with the cast than what they did.
Yeah.
They could have built it out a bit more, but then it also would have been a longer movie, more screen time. I think it's only an hour and a half.
It's in and out. It's
So if it
not
was a
necessarily
2-hour
kids'
movie,
as
maybe,
much as
but yeah.
it's-
But I liked it. I gave it a solid 5.5.
5.5. Nathan.
I'm gonna have to say a 5.5 as well, because I had seen it once before, a couple times before, maybe 10 years ago when it came out. More than 10 years ago when it came out. Leave it alone.
That's a 20-something-year-old. That's a 22-year-old movie.
That's a big yikes for me. But no, I remember watching it when it was fairly newish, and I thought I was a little bit disappointed when I watched it because I was expecting this big adventure movie, and I got snails being neurotic. I got characters that didn't do anything, and blah 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 blah. But now, after almost 10 years of playing D&D, rewatching it, it's I can see myself and my party in these particular actions where you're you're walking down the marketplace and your thief just won't stop fucking taking things. Like, you're gonna get us caught, you dumbass. And just wrangling cats, or the maze where with the eyeballs, where it just feels like the DM is after you. And maybe he's not, but it feels like it.
Rich, take us home. What do you think?
Honestly, I would have liked to see a little bit more variety of races, or at least more of the races.
We had watermelon people.
We had watermelon people.
Less people that were just painted different colors.
Right. I mean, rubber ears are cheap. Elves, half elves.
Three-eyed people.
A couple orcs, maybe, even, depending the variety. There's a lot. I'm not stretching for tieflings. They didn't come into the game until at least 4th edition, I believe. 3.5 later.
They were in 3.
They were villains. They weren't playable.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah?
Yep.
Wild.
I mean, anything's playable if you're brave enough.
Yeah, no, they were definitely playable.
In 3rd edition?
I'm assuming since they were in 3.5,
They were introduced.
there isn't much difference between 3.5 and 3, so.
There's 3 years, my guy.
Yes.
We're splitting hairs, and I want Dragonborn. I thought some of the creatures themselves looked a little funny.
Yeah,
and
for
that's
sure.
I mean, I appreciate the rubber prosthetics and stuff. They did some great work on the creature workshop, but I just wish there was a little bit more of that. My mind immediately goes to Hellboy 2 and the Troll Market.
Yeah.
Which is just a beautiful display of
Great.
spending money just to spend money.
Yeah.
But this clearly just didn't have it. The TSR issues and everything that goes down with Joe Silver and the Wizards of the Coast team is wild and definitely a story to read into. I would honestly give this film about a 4. It's enjoyable. It isn't amazing. I don't really feel like I need to rewatch it. But once again, like Pathfinder, if it's on, I might leave it and just kind of be like, oh yeah, Jeremy Irons is a mess in this one. What a fun time. Yeah, it's good. I do want to ask a question. We can maybe save it for like an after bit, but you want to wrap this up, obviously. Adam, where can they find us?
They can find us on Discord, link in the doobly-doo down below. If you like that, you can also listen to us on classic Ronin Geek episodes in the same RSS feed. If you enjoy tabletop RPGs, just like what originated this, listen to one of our promotions that you should be hearing at the beginning of this, as well as listen to our episode on Delta Green, which came out probably by this point a month ago. So enjoy those episodes. Thank you for joining us. Let's talk to us about tabletop on Discord with us.
They do Call of Cthulhu. It's real spooky.
Yes.
It's real fun. I love me some Call of Cthulhu. Lovecraft is wild, especially with all of his stuff that he's even inspired with literature.
Yes.
Nintendo Geek, thank you very much for being back on the show, as always. Nathan, I wish I could say it was a good time having you on.
I hated being here.
Yeah, I know. It's awful with you. But thank you very much.
No, thank you for having me.
Adam, thanks a lot. I'm Geek Movie House. This was Raised by Spoilers. Cheers, everyone. We'll see you again.
Bidet.
Bidet. Ronin's whatchamacallit, what's in the box. Tonight's episode
you clicked
is
on
Dungeons and Dungeons, where this is our first episode, and we're going
he's
to
a
load up the
warlock.
Wikipedia page.
It was a what?
He's a warlock.
He's a Horlock, all right.
Yeah, because he didn't have to look up like wizard spells.
Yeah. And he only did 3 things because that's usually all his components. That's
Sorry,
all.
who are we talking about?
Jeremy fucking
Prothean.
rock hard irons.
But they said they were... And
No, they just called them mages because they didn't want to get too... Okay, fuck it. Just get
Are
the
we
intro
good?
done.
Do you want the intro?
Yeah.
Are we recording now?
Go for it, yeah.
All right. You want to count me in?
Yeah.